93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
You're listening
to Joey Clark.
Joey Clark.
It's Joey Clark.
Thank God for another beautiful day. Hopefully it'll be a beautiful show, and Montgomery needs a new mayor. And speaking of Montgomery is ramping up collection efforts. Now, when a government says they are ramping up collection efforts, you gotta wonder, is my wallet safe? Now, this actually has to do more with fines and fees, but it's being done 2 years after a mass forgiveness campaign. So the Jubilee's over, baby. Time to pay up. But 2 years after waiving a bevy of municipal fines and fees, Montgomery Mayor Steven Reed's office is now ramping up collection efforts for unpaid municipal court obligations starting this month. This is according to Craig Munger. Craig at 1819news.com. In 2024, Reed issued an executive order remitting, quote, unpaid fines and fees for adjudicated non-driving under the influence, traffic cases, and marijuana offenses more than 10 years old. Wow, people got cited for smoking pot and they didn't pay for 10 years? Would you believe stoners really don't care? But the city of Montgomery is committed to fostering a more just and equitable community, the city said in its 2024 announcement. In pursuit of this goal, Mayor Steven L. Reed issued Executive Order number 2024-0220 to address the financial burden of municipal court debt. This initiative remitted outstanding fines, fees, and costs for convictions issued before January 1st, 2014. But today, this week, on Monday, the city launched a month-long public awareness campaign to encourage residents to check for and resolve any outstanding municipal court obligations, including unpaid fines and fees, before expanded collection efforts begin. We want residents to have clear advance notice that the city will be ramping up collection efforts soon, Reed said. August is your opportunity to check for any old fines or fees and resolve them before expanded collection actions begin. But wait, if you just forgave them like 10 years worth of stuff 2 years ago, why don't I just wait more? What do you mean collection efforts? Aren't you the guy that forgives stuff? So I'm hard up, Mr. Mayor. I got stuff to do with very little money to do it. And so just because I got some government breathing down my neck saying I got to pay the piper, I can't. I would rather spend money on something else. And given that 2 years ago, you waived all this stuff, why should I pay? I'll just wait another 5, 6, 7, 10 years and it'll probably be good again. Does it come in cycles like the Jewish Jubilee? Now, the thing is, with me personally, as soon as I get a government thing, I pay it. For a while with federal taxes, I would file extension after extension where I'd end up paying in October. But at this point in life, as soon as I get a bill from the government, I try to get that over with. No point in fighting it for the most part. There are always exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, just get it off. Get it off the slate. Wipe that slate clean. But the city stated it was offering residents approximately 1 month. You have 1 month, Montgomery, to proactively address unpaid fines or fees because the city wanted to avoid the need for additional enforcement or collection measures later. If you do not clean your room in 1 month, you are going to get a spanking. City leaders are also currently considering plans to borrow $375 million for a sports complex and convention center and other city projects, if you weren't aware of that, folks. The highly debated bond continues to be debated within the Montgomery City Council as members bring varying perspectives. I believe Andrew Szymanski's stopping by today, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about this, ask him a few questions. So, after we forgave all this debt, just all y'all that haven't paid your fines and fees and all this stuff, you got a month. Which probably means you've got several months. And depending on how big your fine is, it might be even longer than that. Or, you know, you got to wonder, are they going to go for the big fine, outstanding fines, or the outstanding fees? Or are they going to go for little fish here or there? And do we have the personnel to enforce it? I don't know. You should pay it if you can. Well, and you kind of have to pay it even if you can't. Or you can always wait for another forgiveness program. Anyway, welcome into the program. As I like to usually say, Montgomery needs a new mayor. We just need new leadership across the board. Absolutely crazy. Now, here's the thing, though. Say you get, like, not a fine or a fee that's just stacking up. It could be you commit a crime, like a big crime, and you need to post bond. Say it's a a felony drug charge you get smacked with. Well, Erica Thomas at 1819 News has this story that I want to call up Erica right now or text her and be like, why are you giving free advertising to this person? Because that's what this is. Now, I vaguely remember the mugshot. I believe the mugshot is of Whitney Cheatham. Now, I don't know a lot of Cheathams in the world, and I'm sure there are some good upstanding people with the last name of Cheatham. But name can sometimes be destiny, folks. But a former Coleman Spa owner out of jail on a little over $1 million bond appears to have a new side hustle as she awaits trial. Whitney Cheatham, the former owner of Infusion Wellness Spa, is listed on OnlyFans, and a pornographic website that offers live chats, videos, and photos. Erica, why are you putting this out there? This is just free advertising for her name is Red Obsession. The account offers daily exclusive content, live streams, panties sent straight to you, and more. The account also has an Amazon registry with sex toys, clothing, beauty products, and household items. You know, I'm the type of fellow, I go on those OnlyFans pages. I don't ask for like naked photos or for them to rate like a picture of my junk or anything. What I like to do is if the lady needs like some bleach or WD-40, hell, I'll buy her pliers if she needs them. I like to get the household stuff, make sure she's taken care of. I don't want any of that funny business or all that dirty stuff. I just want to make sure this girl who's down and out is getting her household items. Cheatham is facing a 25 felony and misdemeanor counts, including drug trafficking, forgery, and practicing medicine without a license. She was indicted in December and is set for arraignment on February 27th. 1819 News has reached out to her attorneys for comment. Cheatham's father, Kelvin Cheatham, and estranged husband, Cody Smith, were also arrested in connection with what authorities called a conspiracy. Kelvin Cheatham and Smith are both facing 11 charges, including criminal conspiracy to commit a controlled substance crime and fraud. Smith was previously arrested in Blount County on human trafficking and related offenses. Are you telling me folks that are like tied up in the crime rings of like human trafficking and drug trafficking and forgery, like just fraud? Tell me folks that go around in those circles, when they get down and out, might start selling naked photos of themselves for money, for cash? But this guy's arrest, her husband, her estranged husband, excuse me, his arrest was documented on True Blue's Takedown with Chris Hansen. According to the episode, Smith had just married Cheatham 2 weeks before the child sex sting. Hansen emphasized how tragic it would be for the wife, who had children, to find out her husband was arrested for such a crime. Now, let's be clear, all parties are considered innocent until proven guilty. But I guess Erica Thomas will join us tomorrow, and I got to talk to her about this. Like, what are you doing? Putting out this name, Red Obsession. What are you doing? But of course, this is a trending story at 1819, but it's an older story. So I'm wondering who got this thing going? Who got this thing viral? This is the problem with putting stuff like this out, is you end up encouraging the bad behavior. You know, well, you report it as like, these are crimes, this is miserable behavior, and yet now everybody who's like watching the stream or reads 1819 is like doing their own research. It's a miserable thing. Have we stopped bombing Iran or started bombing Iran? Do we have a deal? Are the Straits of Hormuz open or closed? I don't know. Has America been infiltrated by radical commies and socialists and Muslims and all this other stuff? Perhaps in certain parts of the country, but I don't know. Because when you read the news, folks, especially today, after a big election, it's easy to get down. It's easy to get down. And so sometimes it takes somebody who ain't from here, or at least who's new here, to remind you what America's all about, especially the American South. And of course, I'm turning to that Japanese man, the Honorable Nobunaga. He has released another missive. He's putting them out almost every day. And this one, before I read it, really hit a nerve. 14 million people have seen this. Millions and millions of folks this has resonated with. And I think this is a perfect example, despite all the sound and fury of our politics, despite all the surveillance state technology taking over every aspect of your life, that America is still America in ways that don't show up on the news because we take it for granted. But here's what Nobunaga had to say. He said, I needed to move a sofa. I mentioned this to an American. He said, you know anybody with a truck? I did not know anybody with a truck. He looked at me with real concern, not pity, concern, the way you look at a man who has told you he does not have a name. You got to know somebody with a truck. I asked how one acquires such a person. He said, you just do. This is the third time I've received that answer in this country. It is the answer to everything here. You just do. There's no process. There is only the eventual fact of having. He said, ask Kevin. I do not know a Kevin. He said, Kevin, like I should. He said it the way you say a shared uncle. I met Kevin 4 days later. Kevin owns a truck. Kevin does not own a truck for himself. Nobody owns a truck for themselves. Kevin owns a truck for a 15-mile radius. Inside, I said, this man has taken a vow. He did not announce it. He simply purchased a bed and accepted the consequences. Kevin arrived on Saturday. He brought the truck. He also brought a second man. I had not asked for a second man. Second man's name is Tony. Tony came because Kevin came. Tony did not know me. Tony did not ask what we were moving. Tony brought gloves. They moved the sofa in 11 minutes. I offered them money. Both of them laughed at the same time, which felt rehearsed and was not. I asked what I owed them. Kevin said, buy the pizza. That is the price. That is the entire economy. The truck cost one pizza, and the pizza is not negotiable, and the pizza is also not expensive, and everyone knows what size. Inside, I said, the fee is fixed across the entire nation and was set by no one. We ate on the floor because the sofa was against the wall, and none of us wanted to be the first to sit on it. Tony told me his daughter plays soccer. I asked if she's good. He said, she's aggressive. She's aggressive. I still think about that. 3 weeks later, Kevin texted me, you free Sunday helping Tony move a fridge? He did not ask if I wanted to. He informed me of a fridge. Inside, I said, I have been called up. I did not enlist. The papers were filed on my behalf. I went. I moved the fridge. I have no truck. I contributed only arms. Afterwards, a man I had never met asked if I knew anybody with a truck. I said, yeah, I got a guy. I have a guy. I'm somebody's guy now, too. Tony has told 2 people about me. He describes me as, quote, the guy who's strong for his size. I've never been prouder of a sentence in my life. Nobunaga's, ladies and gentlemen. I think that hits a nerve. Why did 14 million people see this? Why was this shared tens of thousands of times? And it's because I think it really hits to the core of what the good parts of America are. And in fact, that's where America, especially in local government, but across the board, is at its best. It's not the formal rules on parchment and paper. It's not the sizzle of the news cycle. Though we do love our sizzle, myself included. It's sort of those unspoken rules that average people are going to take for granted because they're unspoken, that make this country hum, that we do look out for one another. As much as folks talk about being lonely and we're too online and yada, yada, yada. Most people know somebody with a truck if they need to move a sofa. And if we could have that mentality on more things where, we don't always have to have it figured out exactly like the many old nations of the world. We just need to be ourselves and look out for one another, and things sort of work out. I really appreciated that Nobunaga missive. At this point, this guy he's an honorary American as far as I'm concerned. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. I got to hit a quick break here. Be right back.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 special. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
We get this question all the time.
Do you handle that?
Buying or selling a home?
Yes.
Commercial?
Yes.
Land or investments?
Absolutely. Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. One team.
Every real estate move. 334-322-0662.
Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Bowen Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason. On the heels of Wall Street's record performance yesterday, stocks in Europe and Asia have been on the rise, and this morning Wall Street opened higher, adding to yesterday's gains. The markets are pleased with the latest corporate earnings reports. Caterpillar among the latest companies to deliver stronger profits for the spring than expected. SpaceX reporting a smaller loss than Wall Street was expecting, along with a surge in revenue in its first quarterly report as a publicly traded company as it sharply boosted spending, especially on AI. The company, run by Elon Musk, posted a loss of $541 million in the 3 months through June. That was less than half what financial analysts had been expecting. A strong quarter for Disney was driven by its Toy Story franchise and by the draw of its U.S. theme parks. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. It continues to be a fairly routine forecast for early part of August. There will be a good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, and some spotty random afternoon and evening storms are possible. In fact, that'll be the scenario right on through Saturday at least. I've got us around 93 for a high temperature today, closer to 94 tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. And guess what? The heat index will be back in the triple-digit range, with lows at night in the lower 70s and somewhat better rain chances perhaps by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
When the heat hits to the river region, don't wait. If your AC quits, Hands Heating and Air offers same-day service, or your diagnostic charge is free with their Comfort a Day or You Don't Pay guarantee, plus 24/7 service with no overtime charges.
The premier place the river region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Joey Clark, and let's go to the fake news of the day, which is Trump warns Iran will be hit really hard. To be hit like really, really hard if nuclear negotiations collapse again. This is kind of like the mayor of Montgomery saying, y'all better pay your fines and fees in the next month or we're coming to collect, even though we forgave like 10 years worth of fines and fees 2 years ago. Trump saying we're going to completely blow a civilization off the map. Didn't he say that on Easter Sunday? And then, thank God we didn't. That would have been ugly. But Trump warns Iran will be hit really hard if nuclear negotiations collapse. Saying if they back out again, they're going to get hit really hard. They know that. They understand that. I have no choice. They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. The hard hit is yet to come, and hopefully we won't have to use it, he said during an interview with Trace Gallagher of Fox News. Trump's comments came days after he held off on a planned military strike on Iran that he said would have been the largest since World War II. There were some big attacks during World War II, so that's pretty big. But I thought like the first wave of this was like the biggest ever. We hit them so hard. We decimated their nuclear program with Operation Midnight Hammer. Or did we? We were going to a tremendous attack, the biggest since World War II, and they called me and said very politely, please, can we talk? Can we talk? And I said, yes, we can talk. Let's get it done. Earlier this week, and Trump said a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and curb Iran's nuclear program was, quote-unquote, imminent. You heard Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, saying the same thing, Secretary Rubio saying the same thing, but we've heard the same thing now. It's like I'm stuck. It's Groundhog Day on this particular story. That in the Save America Act. And John Thune in the Senate, they're going to get it done, and we don't want to go on recess, and Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon, and we're about to bomb the crap out of it. We're about to beat the effing S out of them, as Trump said the other day. And then, we're back to talking. But you got to get out of this cycle, man. And actually, it's something I always would, and do credit Trump with. He knows how to normally break a cycle. Oh, well, he kind of got stuck during COVID. to this day, I will always remember that first Oval Office address during COVID in March where he shut down travel from Europe. I'm like, oh no, he's cooked. He's done. He actually looks out of his element. And right now, I'm not feeling that same exact way. Thank you, Jay.
Welcome.
What do you think of the flowers?
They're pretty.
Thanks, man. Hopefully Greg doesn't eat them. Earlier this week, again, the deal's imminent. It's about to happen. And of course, Iranian officials have denied holding direct talks with the United States, saying negotiations are taking place through mediators in Oman. The Associated Press reported Tuesday that Iranian and Omani officials had made significant progress towards a potential agreement to reopen the strait through negotiation, though negotiations remained ongoing. Trump described Tuesday's negotiations as very good, despite Iran's repeated public denials that direct talks were underway. They don't like to admit that, but, well, you know, it's a little bit disconcerting. It's just such a lie. But it doesn't matter. That's talk. The only thing that matters is action, and they want to make a deal. We'll see what happens. If they don't make a deal, it's going to be too bad. I have plenty of time, Trump said. Doesn't have to rush. I don't know. I think he needs to get out of this cycle, not only for a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons. Practical reasons, like, you know, the price of gas just filled up a whole tank this morning. My God. But I think, in a way, this is coming to define his presidency the longer it goes on, if it hasn't already. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, this is Thunder, and I would like to send a message to President Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being the daddy in the front of the car that keeps saying, if you don't behave, I'm going to pull this car right over. I'll put it right over. Can you stop saying that and finish the job? Either you do it or you don't. The other one is getting off the pipe, but we won't get there. This is just basically stop telling Iran, either you behave or I will pull this car right over. This is a time when he needs to just pull the car over and get it over with.
Yeah, it's just from covering it, it's exhausting. And I imagine it's exhausting trying to figure this out with the Iranians, because I still go back to what Vice President Vance said a few weeks ago, that there are actual pragmatists, but every time there's a breakthrough with the pragmatists in Iran, the hardliners go freaking nuts and do something stupid.
Yep.
And thus here we are.
And the sad part about it is they're going to continue doing that until they finally get to the point of this car has now been pulled over and it's not pleasant. Just get it done with, get it over with, and let's go on, because we all know that Iran is going to keep hammering. They'll behave for a little while. They'll mind their manners. They'll be nice. But the leadership of Iran is not going to bow down to the rest of the world. They're not going to behave. They're going to continue whatever they've been doing for the decades. Just get it over with.
Well, this is why you're called Thunder, because you always bring the thunder and the lightning. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you much. Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye. Now, to go to the other thing that's on, like, repeat. The Save America Act. Now, I like this fellow in the Senate, John Kennedy, and he's pissed off that all these folks want to take a vacation in the middle of needing to get things done. Let's listen in to the senator from Louisiana.
Parameters of the Budget Control Act. But we can't do it unless we can vote.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if we could all agree. It would be nice if we can all have meetings and talk about it and give and take. I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's not realistic because people have differences of opinion. You know what you do when you have a difference of opinion? You vote. That's why God made votes. That's why God made the United States Senate. We can continue to sit around. It's also true on the Russian sanctions bill, but especially is true with respect to election integrity. And I'm not criticizing anybody. I know the way the Senate works, and you do too, Madam Chair. You know, senators will stall and restall and cuss and spit, and we need one more meeting. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in the last 6 months that should have been an email, that could have been an email, to talk about the Russian sanctions bill and to talk about election integrity and to try to get a consensus. It's not going to happen. Not in my natural lifetime, not in yours, Madam Chair, though you'll live longer than me, and not in yours, our friends in the gallery. We gotta vote. And we need to vote right now. And the American people expect it. And if there is a motion made on this floor to have us remain here until we get our work done, I'm going to vote yes. I'm going to vote yes. I can tell you right now. And what is the work we need to get done? In no particular order, we need to pass the Russian sanctions bill. We need to pass the budget resolution, which will include election integrity. We need to confirm Todd Blanche. We need to pass the continuing resolution to keep government open until December the 11th. We need to vote on the cryptocurrency bill.
Yeah, we do.
Which we've spent years on.
I can hear his frustration. And he's in the Senate. How do you think the rest of us feel, man? Y'all suck. I think Byron Donald said that the other day.
The budget control back.
Yeah, thanks, Senator.
We can't do it unless we can vote.
We can't do it unless we can vote. That's right. And yet they are stalling, and stalling some more. And are we actually getting the debt and deficit under control, or all the things that become issues right around election time? Have we actually solved those problems that we promised in the last election? Now, there was one big promise that is true. We will suck less than the Democrats. Yay! But people are only going to believe that for a little while. They might even say to themselves after they realize you kind of suck, that you still suck less than the Democrats. But you know, what the hell? Let's roll the dice with some socialism stuff. But that's the problem. So much of this comes down to during election time, midterms are this way, and especially this is the truth in presidential cycles. As certain issues crop up that are like really important to the American people and move the American people supposedly. How many presidents have run against war? Like, especially the last guy's war. Like George W. Bush ran for a more humble foreign policy, more compassionate conservatism. Now watch this drive. And yet, you know the whole history of the Bush administration, especially after 9/11. And then Barack Obama ran against all these wars of choice. And then really amped up fighting the 1-year war 20 years over in Afghanistan. I think most American casualties happened under Obama's watch in Afghanistan. And then there's the whole Libya adventure as well. And then Trump runs against Obama's wars. Though he has a little twist in saying he's weak on ISIS and yada, yada, yada. But even Trump himself has run against what? He ran against the Ukraine war. I'm going to end that war on day one. Doesn't happen. So Americans love it when, like, there's a war going on and we're tired of it because we short-term attention spans, or perhaps we're like actually principled. We don't want to see a bunch of death and destruction rain down from the sky on people we don't even know. Or it could be, it's a waste of money. It is a waste of money and a waste of human lives. At least that's the way the thinking goes during election time. The other one, of course, is the deficit. Now, W inherited a pretty good situation. especially thanks to Gingrich and the Republican Revolution in 94 and Clinton doing his triangulation after listening to Dick Morris too much. Well, he's on the phone with Clinton while they got a hooker listening on it. It's just so wholesome up there in D.C. But because of the triangulation and the Republicans, you ended up with, actually, they balanced the budget. Now, they balanced the budget by essentially taking from trust funds. Like, the money we owed to ourselves actually continued to go up. But no, the budget was much more under control when Bush comes into office. Then it starts going up. Then it's really going up after the bailouts in 2008. And what does Obama say on the campaign trail? And they gave you the keys. You drove it into a ditch. Drove the debt right into a ditch. And then he proceeded to up the debt even more. And Trump criticized Obama for his debt, proceeded to up the debt even more. Biden, I'm sure, hey, I didn't talk about the debt. Oh, man. But I'm sure he made noises or something to that effect of the debt's too damn high. And yet drove it up even more. And don't forget, how much money is spent during the COVID era. How much money is not only spent by the government, but just straight injected into the veins of the global economy. Thus, the inflation we still have right now. Everybody wants to point fingers, and yes, the Democrats did things that didn't help. But the main underlying cause is the amount of money you created out of thin air. All in one fell swoop. And so those are just two instances of debt and deficits and war. They become big issues during election time. And yet, we keep on doing what we're doing. Not even Elon Musk with his Doge. Well, because he wasn't president. And people started blowing up Teslas and stuff. And Trump cried uncle right when we're getting to the meat of things at, say, the Pentagon and certain other agencies. But you can always count on is those issues will definitely, inevitably come back because it's almost election time. The promises they actually mean during election time and the main promises they truly believe in. A lot of them. Now, some are moderates. They're like, I said you were like a crazy left-wing socialist, but I'll see you at dinner, man. Steak again? Let's go to the steak place. But generally, it is becoming more polarized. Generally more polarized in our politics. People just don't know each other in the same way. Unless you're Katie Britt and John Fetterman, how many folks are actually working together on a lot of stuff? Unless you're Lindsey Graham, but, he ain't around anymore. So it's becoming more and more polarized. Because the promises they really mean is we will suck less than those crazy, awful, terrible people on the other side. By the way, that could be a Republican or a Democrat saying that. We will suck less than those terrible, crazy, awful, morally bereft, stupid, racist. Well, now I'm starting to sound like a Democrat. Socialists. But then here's the thing. Even though they mean it, and okay, so you vote for it for that reason because they're going to suck less. And you're like, I don't like racism. I don't like socialism. Or whatever, man. Then they get elected. The party gets elected. Democrats will get elected. They'll win the House. Maybe they'll win the Senate. I doubt that, but they're definitely primed to win the House, even with redistricting. And how much is really going to change? Now, this is not to black pill you, as people still say, to make you despair. Because despair is a pretty bad sin. Never despair your faith and God's love for you. But I imagine it's also a sin to essentially put your hope in the political system, like I think too many Americans do, the same way you put your hope in God. That sort of idolatry is ugly. And we do it in a sort of way that is very irresponsible. This is my sense of it. Most Americans really aren't paying attention and don't care But when crap hits the fan, they're really pissed off. And they're like, I'm an American, damn it, and I'm going to vote and make my voice heard. And then crazy election time, and then we're back to not caring. And we wonder why nothing changes. Perhaps relying on the political system is, while we don't take as much responsibility ourselves, part of the problem. And yet you have entire political movements that are all about taking those responsibilities from you and making them everybody's problems and responsibilities. So apparently, like, some radicals won for the Democrats last night. It's so shocking, right? Before we get into the whole socialism thing, though, because Latin America, South America, like, they've really did the socialist experiment a lot. And one of my favorites in the last few years is Javier Milei. And there's an account that it does Malay and English, where they use AI so it sounds like it's his own voice, his own accent, but speaking in English. And this is just a simple thing he has to say about socialists.
When you tell a socialist the truth, they cry, claiming it's hate speech. No, it's not hate speech. It's that you are useless people who have ruined the planet.
I think he means it. I think they cry. Well, we're about to see if that's true. Because actually, you just go online to any one of these debate shows, and I think you're going to find it's true. They maybe don't cry like a baby, but they definitely pitch a fit like they're a toddler. But, socialist and crazy Islamic, radical Muslim sympathizers, at least, they're adjacent to radical terrorism and yada, yada, yada. Like folks who said, America kind of had 9/11 coming. And that's a little different than saying, like, there's a blowback effect of, say, our policies in the first Gulf War. Because that's an actual, I think, good point to make. And a good reason why our security apparatus should have been much more aware of certain threats and not as full of hubris as they were at the turn of the century. That when you go and you play essentially empire, that empire might have consequences back at home you don't expect. That's just a reasonable thing to believe. Is blowback, this concept of blowback, a full foreign policy theory? No, it shouldn't be. But it should be kept in mind. But saying like, hey, if we mess around in the Middle East for decades, it might blow back on us is very different than saying, well, America sort of deserved 9/11. There's a different tone. So apparently some guy won like a nomination in Michigan. And so here's Alabama's own Senator Katie Britt talking about how just crazy this is. Take it away, Senator. Take it away.
Look, Bill, this is a sad day for America. I mean, the fact that this man could win an election is absolutely unbelievable. We know that this Democratic Socialist of America movement has shown us that they do nothing but hate America. We saw them actually on your very network talking about all of the things they wanted to see. No ICE. They wanted to see no police. They wanted to essentially do away with the government. No jails, all of these kinds of things. But you have to, let's connect the first conversation we had to this one. And when it comes to Iran and it comes to what's happening, he is actually a jihadist sympathizer. We saw him just 2 days ago, El Sayed, at a pool party with Hassan Piker, who said that America deserved 9/11. These are not people who stand with us and for our values, and they're infiltrating from within. We have to make sure to stand firmly and say we love this country, we want to fight for the citizens of this country, and we want to make sure that there's peace and prosperity here and across the globe.
Okay, quickly. This is not a blue dot. This is a purple state. This is the Midwest. This is Michigan.
Yeah, but this is also the Democratic Party voting in Michigan.
What does that tell you about where the energy is in the party?
That tells me that the Democratic Socialists have taken over the Democratic Party, and we have to stand up to it and stand firmly.
Yeah. Now you gotta have a fight. And what sucks, though, is, again, I'm not blackpilling, because you put your faith in your open God, anything's surmountable. The reason, though, for my belly aching about things like war and debt is they are real problems that have real currency with American voters. Not to mention inflation and a few other things that just affect everybody's lives. And if you don't actually address these problems, you think, like the last several generations, you can kick that can down the road. It might very well be these folks that you call jihadist sympathizers and you call all these names. So-and-so's a racist, so-and-so's an anti-Semite, so-and-so's a socialist, so-and-so... As a younger generation isn't even listening to Fox News. And all those crazies and people you called names, maybe you got good reason to call names. I'm not arguing with that. But all those folks you're calling names are instead going, yeah. It's 2028. We all say a lot of stupid crap. We've been saying stupid crap on the internet for a long time. But what about the debt? What about how much it costs to put gas in the tank? Why are we always at war? Why does America seem to be beholden to all sorts of other foreign interests all over the world? Why is it our job to be the empire that polices everything? Those issues that are real issues can be taken up by those folks that you try to brand as radical, and they can beat you over the head with it. That's what's so frustrating to watch. As much as I think socialism is antithetical not only to American, say, liberty, and it's also antithetical to Christianity. I think there are also plenty of chances, despite my distaste for it and so many others, that it finds real currency and already has found a foothold in this country, not just because it's bad people on the other side or the crazy have taken over the other side, but because we have real problems and everybody's elected to do it, doesn't seem to find a way to actually solve them. And if you let those real problems fester for years, the worst might come up and say, well, I'll solve it. I'll get on top of it. I'll be like Absalom at the gate saying, King David sucks, man. I could be a good king. You're like, well, you're crazy though, Absalom. But resentment can be a hell of a drug for a political body, for a voting public. Resentment and lack of feeling like you're being heard. And we're playing exactly with that fire right now. Anyway, this part of the program brought to you by Waverly Advisors, formerly Invista Advisors. They're at Waverly Advisors, Austin Baranco and the entire team. They're ready to help you out with financial planning as well as investment strategies. If they need to have those assets managed, they can help you out there in a brilliant way. And now that they are Waverly Advisors, they have even more, say, services and tools available, resources and services available to help out their clients. And it's really thoughtful, personalized financial advice, financial guidance. So again, could be, you're near retirement. You want to make sure your portfolio grows, but you're not looking to take crazy risk stuff. Of course, they've been helping people like that for years. They're now at Waverly Advisors. But say you're younger, want to take a little bit more risk with your investments, come in some money in your 20s and 30s. Like you're willing, you got time. Well, they can help you out now in that regard as well. And of course, they can help you if you're just trying to plan things out, starting a family, and you get things like life insurance, plan for the kids' future. Could be you're more concerned with end-of-life matters. They're at formerly Invista, now Waverly Advisors. Let Austin Branco and the team, help you out. Just call them up, 387-0094. That's 387-0094. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. Now, I was just reminded by Jay that today is the anniversary of the Riverfront Brawl. Yeah. Changed so much for the better, right? It was quite a day. Anyway, we'll be right back after this.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
We get this question all the time.
Do you handle that?
Buying or selling a home?
Yes.
Commercial?
Yes.
Land or investments?
Absolutely. Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. One team.
Every real estate move. 334-322-0662.
Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
So coming up, we should have Andrew Szymanski joining us, unless he forgot again. That would suck, actually. I'd be a little annoyed by that. But hopefully he'll be here in just a second. And, of course, we can get into the history of the Montgomery Riverfront brawl. Well, I wish it was a ball, but it was more brawl. People getting hit over the head with folding chairs. People got charged out of it like a bunch of drunks. And it really advanced the cause. People were willing to do the work. Or something like that. Anyway, we'll see if Szymanski joins us after this top of the hour break.
From the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. In Michigan, the final tally shows Abdul El-Sayed wins the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate in a nationally watched race. A man arrested who was walking the grounds and appeared to be monitoring security planning at President Trump's California golf course ahead of his visit. The man was taking photos and video and had a 16-round magazine of ammunition in his pocket and a loaded pistol in his car. The 38-year-old was charged with several felonies, including second-degree robbery and possessing a prohibited firearm. Wildfire smoke from Washington, Oregon, and Canada expected to worsen air quality across western Washington at least through midweek. In consumer news, Jetstar plans to charge passengers for using overhead compartments starting in February 2027. That charge will be $25 Australian. This is SRN News.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really helped me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-499-5331. 800-499-5331. 5331. 800-499-5331.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Victoryland.
Giveaways galore all summer long. Diamond Days Diamond Jewelry Giveaway and TV Tuesdays TV Giveaway with $185,000 in free play at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. It continues to be a fairly routine forecast for early part of August. There will be a good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, and some spotty random afternoon and evening storms are possible. In fact, that'll be the scenario right on through Saturday at least. I've got us around 93 for a high temperature today, closer to 94 tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. And guess what? The heat index will be back in the triple-digit range, with lows at night in the lower 70s and somewhat better rain chances perhaps by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Vaughan Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Welcome to Eclectic Coins, Montgomery's largest coin dealer, specializing in buying and selling investment-grade gold and silver coins. And they have a large selection of rare coins and coins from around the world. Visit them at 543 Northeastern Boulevard or on the web at eclecticcoins.com. Eclectic Coins, where collectors who know go.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Looking for insurance, or maybe you're just not satisfied with your current carrier? How does quality coverage with local service and competitive rates sound to you? The folks at Stark Agency offer just that. Whether you need insurance for your business, car, home, or life, Stark Agency can help. As an independent insurance agency with over 20 of the top insurance carriers, Stark is sure to find the perfect match for you and your loved ones. Visit their site at starkagency.com or give them a call at 334-263-5535 for a quote today.
WAKA, Blue Water Broadcasting, Tyndall Incorporated, and Piggly Wiggly Food for Less invite you to help us stuff the truck on Saturday, August 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sturbridge Piggly Wiggly Food for Less. Donate non-perishable food, classroom supplies, or cash to help local students facing food insecurity and support our teachers. Visit WAKA.com for a shopping list and stop by our community resource fair for valuable services and information for River Region families. Together, we can stuff the truck and strengthen our community.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. As promised, in the studio with us, we have from the Montgomery City Council, Andrew Szymanski. How you doing today, kind sir?
Doing very well, doing very well. I know I was supposed to have come visit you a couple of weeks ago and a couple things came up, but I'm glad to be back. It's August. So, as somebody who likes the cooler months a little bit more, I can see light on the horizon for fall weather. Hopefully, I know we've got a long way to go, but
it's rough right now.
It is rough. It is rough. And in less than 40 days, I'll be a married man. So, I've got a lot on the plate right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
So, of course, the big issue is this huge bond issue, the $375 million. You voted to advance to, let's get into what the vote was actually about. So you voted to sort of advance it several weeks ago.
No, and I think there was some confusion on that, is that I voted to suspend the rules to have a vote on the bonds.
Okay.
We have the whole rules
so
and
this
procedure.
is a vote to have a vote.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the only thing that happened there. And I then was going to, have the discussion about really wanted, and I mentioned it last night about amending the bond, if possible, to allow for us to accomplish the things that we know we need to do and that the bond would give us the opportunity to do. I've always been a proponent, and I agree that there's an opportunity right now for us to invest in our entertainment economy. But at the scale that was being proposed, it was just a number that was too far for me. And so that was really the debate I was hoping we were going to have. And then we got into last night, and during the work session, wanted to voice my opinions about not just the bond, but also just to talk a little bit about the detail or lack thereof in some of the specific areas, and wanting this to be something that we could all be excited about and unified on, and feel like we had done good collaboration on. And at the end of the day, I was a little bit surprised, but it's been pulled off. We didn't vote on it last night. It's been pulled. It's been put into the finance committee, which will be the first time the finance committee has met formally since I've been on the council. I'm a member of that committee, and so I guess we'll be discussing the bond, the details, and to be honest with you, I'm really not sure what the next step looks like, and we'll be interested to see what that kind of parses out to be.
Because the number is massive, and I know you can structure these things where it wouldn't technically be right at our debt limit because you can do asset valuations of the city and whatnot.
Yeah,
but still, you're getting pretty doggone close with a $375 million.
You're getting within $37 million of so about $412 million is what our debt margin limit was. And for some people, because they've asked before, is that is state mandated. Like the state has a statute that sets the borrowing power for municipalities. So that's where we get that number from.
So the number was too high. And so you thought from the beginning, and wanted to have the debate, this number is too high.
Yeah, the number's too high, and the number's too high for what I thought the return was going to be. And there are a couple of key areas, and I know it got mentioned about why it could or couldn't be in the bond, but one of the main focuses that I have from an economic development standpoint is on the airport and making sure that, if you're going to start bringing in these big conventions, if you're going to start bringing the rock stars to Montgomery, then we better make sure they can land a plane here. And we've been seeing really great things happening at the airport, but we need to, kind of move that conversation forward. If you look down in Mobile when they were doing their convention project, their kind of roadmap for all of this kind of big investment, and they did a big bond issuance for a convention center down there as well. But that was after they made really big gains and investments into their airport. And so I thought that we could do a lot of things, but that the arena as it was proposed as being kind of the cornerstone of this bond issuance at a roughly $200 million sticker price. And we all know how loans and these types of things work. It's proposed at 200, but then how it amortizes, will end up being a lot more, was just something that I think we needed more understanding on, more research on. I saw some of the studies. I thought that some of the way that we got into some of the conclusions weren't enough to say that we're really ready for that level of investment.
Why this? And I want you to put yourself in the mind of the mayor, the mayor's office or anything, but it just seems like, why was this being sold to y'all in this way on the council with such little detail, especially that big of a...
Well, yeah, the little detail, I would say, I wouldn't say there was little detail. I mean, we'd have meetings, we'd seen the renderings, we'd seen the numbers, and we had been told, it was said last night that, one of the things that we want to do is get to the next phase, and then we'll start proposing different aspects of how the bond's going to get spent, and that would come through the council. But in this moment, I think the idea of having this kind of centerpiece use arena was really what was driving the conversation. And in order to get the council on board to getting there, seemed to be the calculation that you keep that and then you add in all of these other components: public safety, building infrastructure and facilities maintenance, street infrastructure, and then district investments as well. As I said, to our economic development director before, my concerns about the scale and the size of the really centerpiece arena component was just too high. And I wish we'd had more forums to have that conversation.
Okay. Because it just sounds like the convention center, that's a huge price. That's 200 of the 375,
Correct.
as you said. So, like, if you had to prioritize, you mentioned the airport, like, what are the things that, and maybe give a rough estimate, rough, folks. It's not like we're sitting here, like, actually crunching numbers, but, like, what are the, like, things you think should be priority before you even take that next step to something that big?
Well, and for looking at the airport, we've had these meetings and conversations in the past where, you see expansion of runways, improvement to cargo bays to allow for more cargo come into the city, but also, even on the more ambitious side, and these are the numbers that I definitely, don't have in front of me, or even know if that's been studied necessarily, but like, adding on to the terminal space, what it costs to bring more flights. Flights are not just something that just pop up,
Right.
Oftentimes, airports have to make investments into bringing more flights. And, there has been some good stuff happening. We heard about the baggage claim. We know that there's a commitment to improve bathrooms and some of the interior settings, but like, how do we really make this an expanded airport? I just got back from my bachelor party up in Chicago. I flew out of Birmingham because there's a nonstop flight on Southwest Airlines and just roughly 90-minute flight that gets me from Birmingham directly to Chicago, which is awesome. And an airport that has, multiple terminals and really can bring in and out the people that are coming to go to things like conventions and whatnot. So I think that that's a pretty critical piece. And then we talked about the other aspects in it as well, the public safety side, making sure that we are making investments into police department, headquarters, that kind of stuff. And the city's got, whether it be our maintenance shops, our, 25 Washington, other building facilities that are in need of investment, getting all of that right was really a big component. And that was in this bond issuance. You just got to this last piece and it was just sitting there really heavy on me as we've had conversations about other economic projects. And I've spent plenty of time looking at other municipalities. You want to have a quality of life and a really big catalyst project? I do too. And I agree that we could do that, but I think we could have done it at a number that would have been a lot more reasonable. I brought up in the council, Birmingham did the Coca-Cola Amphitheater, $50 million. We've looked at, we've had the USL or the U.S. Soccer League program that has come and talked about having a team in a stadium here. Providence, Rhode Island, Knoxville, Tennessee, Chattanooga, they all have gotten these things for 35, 40, 60, $75 million and turned them into multi-use facilities as well. It's really expensive to do indoors and to have an arena of that scale. And I was really, really wanted to be sure that we were ready for it before we really made that jump.
Well, and also with the current makeup of the councils, you only got 8 members.
That's correct.
It makes, it doesn't seem like the votes are even there, number one, to advance it, as we know on the record, but it doesn't seem like the votes are there, even if it did advance, to actually follow through with this. So just for folks out there who maybe are worried about this, they see that price tag, like this doesn't seem like it's going anywhere for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, so it goes into the committee, and I'll be interested to see how we kind of navigate the next steps on that, because we will, I assume, be kind of breaking down, finding more detail, probably negotiating on different aspects of it. And, I think it's really important for people to understand and to hear that I want progress for Montgomery. I want investment for Montgomery. I think the council as a whole wants investment in Montgomery. And we know that in order to be competitive as a city, you and I've talked about this many, many times, that we do have to be looking at quality of life. We do have to be doing these kind of investments alongside of getting our house right. And so in order for us to really make that happen, I think we just have to have a more collaborative process, more discussion, have more buy-in from different aspects of the community. And then I think we can do something that we can all be really excited about. And to me, this one came in hot and fast. And I think, we're kind of held up because it came in a little too hot and a little too fast.
Now, like I'm seeing constantly, especially at 1819's reporting, both Craig Munger and Caleb Taylor, it's like what the bond would be for. And it's the convention center, housing infrastructure improvements. But let me focus on one of these bullets, city facility and service enhancement.
Sure.
So what does that mean?
So there were talk about, as I mentioned earlier, improvements to repair shops and like the outfits at our public works department buildings that, make sure that our trash trucks stay in order, service city vehicles. We also know that the 25 Washington building, I believe that was mentioned to me as, everything from, not only interior improvements, but some exterior roof type improvements as well. The city's got a lot of buildings and properties that are in need. And, as we learned with Jackson Hospital, deferred maintenance is one of the hardest, least sexy things to invest in until it's critically needed, right? And it always gets more expensive on the back end. And so that was kind of a big focus for that as well. And I know that, and it was mentioned last night, that part of that chunk was also going to be a direct investment into police headquarters to help begin some maintenance stuff, but also updating that facility as well.
And how are we doing on, say, like vehicles, like fleets, whether you're talking trash trucks or...
We're renting trash trucks right now because, we need to have the trucks that we have. And I think on top of this, short-term rentals, we've been getting a lot of calls. I've been getting a lot of calls. I've got a couple of neighborhoods that seem to be, kind of victims of the missed trash days more than others. But, and that's a real, thing and an amenity. And we have really wonderful sanitation folks that are doing everything they can. And we got to make sure that they have the equipment that they need and make sure they can actually be on the streets doing the job that they want to do. So those are the types of things that we wanted to see wrapped into this as well. I hope those things stay on the table as we move forward on this process because, at the end of the day, growth in Montgomery can be the big, exciting, ambitious quality of life things, but growth can also be making sure that we're keeping up pace with the services that people expect.
Now, I heard, without revealing, because it was a private conversation, but somebody who's, say, invested money in the city gave this complaint. I just want to throw it at you. Because it's, number one, staffing levels in all sorts of different departments. Like, I think there are still staffing issues, right? But it's like, even if you have staff, this complaint was essentially, if I'm a big investor, like I want to build a big business in the Montgomery area, and I get in touch with the city for all sorts of permissions that you need to do something like that, I don't seem to get a quick response. Or I get sort of the runaround, or I get a cold shoulder, at least. And I worry that sometimes and I'm not in that world. This is just somebody telling me this, that there are folks who don't feel the love sometimes. Like, we're willing to put up a lot of money, and it seems like on the administrative side, not necessarily the elected side, on the administrative side, we're just not getting the answers or getting them quick enough.
Well, I think that comes as a little bit of a surprise to me because I think the city has done a really good job, and I give Kippy Tate and those folks at the we call it PIPE, but our planning, inspections, permitting, and engineering department has really done a great job of kind of coalescing and coming together to create a process that is less cumbersome than when I was even doing my Hilltop project, to where there's better information sharing, weekly meetings that people are able to attend to, if they have projects. And we've been cranking through, especially the permitting and inspection process, in a way that, was kind of the motivator for me running for city council. So I encourage those folks, if they're having that issue, to really kind of, reach out to our engineering department, reach out to Kippy and his team about, what those concerns may be, because I've heard, and even from some of the large scale projects that we've had, some really big commendations for what we've been able to do in terms of a time and efficiency thing for large scale industrial that's happening. And of course, our community and economic development department is doing a lot. There was a report last night that was given to us by Frank Robinson about the success of the small business grant program that we were talking about a few months ago. We've deployed almost and awarded almost all of the $2.5 million that was allocated for that in real ways that are helping businesses. Obviously that was making up for some challenges with what the program was initially prescribed to be, but the turnaround and effectiveness of them taking in hundreds of applications, getting those processes and getting money out into the hands of small business was, I mean, we're talking about within 3 or 4 months. And so, there are always going to be those stories. Just like I said with the sanitation, I have some neighborhoods that haven't missed a Tuesday or a Friday since before I was in office. Then I've got some that have missed a Tuesday 4 times in the last 3 months. And so, that will happen, and it's unfortunate when it does, but I actually think that we are in a better place than we have been to make sure that we can take interested investors and turn them into, real participants in our business community in Montgomery.
Again, folks, we're talking to Andrew Szymanski, 272-9228 if you want to jump in on the conversation. Risky click here. Line 1, you're on there. Who's this?
Soldier Boy.
Hey, Soldier Boy.
Ooh, has it been a month or two, Soldier Boy?
AKA taxpayer.
AKA taxpayer. There we go. What you got?
Hey, Andrew, I've got a couple questions for talking points as we'd say in politics. And since you're in politics, you should understand. First one, where do you stand? We voted down, are we going to bring back an occupational tax to pay for this crazy debt?
Well, we haven't discussed bringing back an occupational tax to bring this back. The occupational tax has been discussed many, many times, and I know we've talked about it on this show before. But essentially, looking at other forms of revenue that a lot of other cities in the state of Alabama tap into, but that was not part of the conversation surrounding the bond.
Well, I think I don't know, Andrew. I watched the entire on YouTube last night, the recording of your meeting, the public meeting that you had, and I do believe, maybe stand me if I'm correct, but that's why I brought it up because it was brought up by Betty, your finance director. So I was just curious about that. Second thing is she had an interesting statement: "Build it, and they shall come." And then another thing is, my mom always used to tell me, it's nice to have nice things, especially when somebody else has to pay for it and somebody else's money has to pay for it. Okay. Next thing is our garbage. Okay, you mentioned that was brought up slightly in that $375 million budget. I think your planning person wanted to rent the trucks because he said it was cheaper because we wouldn't have to pay for maintenance. Is that correct?
Well, there's a couple. Yeah, the idea of leasing trucks is an option. A lot of municipalities, when it comes to things like whether it be golf carts at your municipal golf courses or trash trucks and stuff, go with the leasing route because, essentially you're taking in and getting these trucks, and if something happens, you send them back to the people you're leasing them from, get new trucks and whatnot. So,
that's like,
and what's the lifetime of a truck or a golf?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember when I worked in an office environment, they would rent the copier because it was cheaper. You get the toner, you get the paper, and they maintain it, and we're not stuck with that ancient piece of machine 10 years down the road.
Yeah. But we also have had, in Montgomery, we've had, municipal trash trucks. We've had the mechanics and the people that have been in place, fleet maintenance folks that have been handling that. So, there's two approaches to that. And, that's why in the conversation that we were having is that it's really a stacked issue that you have when you have, you're not able to do the maintenance and repair as quickly as you once were able to do so. And then, it holds trucks back, things stack up, trucks get old. And the main problem that we've got right now, especially is that everything's just more expensive. There's less of them available in the time frames that people traditionally used to acquire them. And so that was why part of the conversation was.
I think labor was mentioned too last night in the meeting, that you have a hard time finding qualified people wage-wise to work on those particular vehicles. Because there are a lot of hydraulics on them.
Yeah. I mean, obviously looking for skilled labor is, everybody's game right now.
So that's where I didn't start. I was like 50-50 in the middle about leasing, but after a while, I put it in the same world of the copier. I saw the copier, being used, and 5 years later, like I said, having an old piece of machine and stuck with can't get parts for it and every other darn thing, where leasing came more into play. Now, did you also mention last night too? Would there be money to build a new police department? Because that building's old.
Yeah, that was the specific question that I had last night in the conversation, and that was why I was making sure that we were really standing up for getting the detail that we wanted to have. I was saying that that had not been something that I had heard said out loud previously to me. And so that was kind of highlighting that question, because you're right. I think we would see a lot of success in making a major improvement to police headquarters. I've had some, sidebar conversations in comparisons to other municipalities, and I think that's a really important thing. And if that's on the table, that's something that I think we definitely want to make sure is on the ledger for any kind of bond issuance we have, if that's something that we think is really feasible.
Next thing I wanted to talk about was who is Judy? Is it Julie Beard? Is that a council person?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I like what she mentioned, and I totally agree with her. 3 things that local government should take care of: fire department, okay, protection; police department, okay, protection again; and the third thing, of course, is sanitation. But I just don't see whereas we're going to spend money. Is the attitude of the council to spend money to make money?
Well, you have to spend money to make money.
Well, not all the time. You're a businessman.
Well, sure. But I mean, you do have to be making the investments that draw in the dollars that we need to have to operate. I mean, we're in the business of competing for residents and sales tax dollars, right? So, if we have to invest and make, our streets better, if we have to make improvements to our neighborhoods, if we have to enhance public safety, and also if we have to make a city a place that people would want to live by investing in quality of life, those are all worthwhile things to be investing in.
I like what Ms. Beard said. She said to me more accurate about local municipality services. And she brought up, like, why haven't we paved Zelda Road? It's a pothole city. Why haven't we paved Atlanta Highway? It's pothole city. Let's take care of the basics, underlying basics, before we build something scratch from the base. See what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I think that's definitely an approach. As I've said, I think from day one coming on this show, that I think you can do both. You can invest in the basics. You can make sure your house is in order. You can also make sure that you are being competitive as a city and that you're attracting new residents by making ambitious investments in the quality of life projects.
Well, I appreciate the call, Soldier Boy. By the way, because we had to hit a break in a second, but were you at the whole chamber thing with Tuberville when he spoke?
No, I came back from Chicago Monday night. Yeah,
okay. I want to ask you about that. If you saw some of,
have not. No,
well, I'll bring it up to you then. What he said. Be interesting to get your take, because both the mayor and Doug Singleton were sitting right there up on the dais with him as he was making these comments. I think I brought this up with you months ago. It's going to be interesting to see a Governor Tuberville and what he wants to do in particular with the city, not just the whole state. But let's go to line 2. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, this is Norton.
Hey, got a question for Andrew Szymanski?
Am I on there?
Yes, sir, you are.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I hear what he's saying, but these things sound like come-to-work items. I mean, that's something that should happen anyway. Clean the streets, make sure you have police. These are come-to-work items. And now, I don't live in Montgomery anymore, but it sounds like the mayor is wanting to show 2 forms of ID and finance as much as he can. He doesn't say what he's financing.
Well, no, I don't think that's the case. I mean, we've talked about some of the big kind of areas that the bond was going to invest in, and as I've said before, I think the stuff that was city-based was all relevant and things that we need, and I think are things that are good for the city moving forward. And I have not shied away from saying that I do think now is a great opportunity for us to be making a big investment into quality of life and entertainment here in the city. But that's what the debate was about, is what that actually looked like, and I think that was what was giving some of us pause. But I think that there's plenty of areas that you take the opportunity, because we're in such a strong financial position as a city right now, to move this thing forward, while also doing it in a responsible way that makes sure that, one, we stay in a strong financial position going forward, so we don't over leverage ourselves, and 2, make sure that in case something, the worst happens, and our finance director, our CFO mentioned it last night, when we had to make payments to whether it be the hospital or increasing salaries and police force, whatever, that we have that ability as well.
Well, I appreciate the call, man. 272-9228. It's 334-272-9228. Do have to hit this break. This entire hour brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage, and they're at Alabama Home Mortgage. Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you with buying a home. And it all starts with pre-approval. Do not fall for like an online mortgage calculator. You're going to end up with a big heartache, if not worse, if you've taken that number for granted. Instead, get an actual pre-approval so you actually know how much home you can finance, how much home you can afford and work on. And of course, they can also help you there with a refinance deal. If you got debt you want to restructure, get off your back, or you want to shore up a retirement fund or reinvest in property or help the family out. Or maybe you've been watching too much Michael Saylor, like, let's remortgage the whole home and go all in on Bitcoin, baby. I don't know. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying if that's a goal, they can help you there at Alabama Home Mortgage. So check them out today. That's 567-4223, 567-4223, or you can always apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Man, everything costs more these days. Yep. That's why we need people like Rhett Marcus. He cut $1.5 billion in taxes.
Wait, 1.5 billion? That's a big deal. Didn't President Trump and Senator Katie Britt endorse him?
Uh-huh, they sure did.
Sounds like Rhett's the right man for Alabama.
I'll be voting for him on August 11th.
Mm-hmm, me too.
I'm Rhett Marcus, the Trump-endorsed candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Rhett for Alabama.
A new year brings new opportunities, and right now the market is starting to shift.
Interest rates are beginning to come down, which means more buying power and more options for buyers who've been waiting.
If you're thinking about buying a home, this could be the moment to take that next step.
And whether you're buying, selling, or investing, having experience on your side matters more than ever.
At Hannah and Eddie Realty Group, we're also growing our team.
If you're an experienced agent ready to make a difference in this market and want to be part of a team that values knowledge, support, and results, call Hannah and Eddie Realty Group, where opportunity meets experience.
This is your roving reporter, and today I'm talking with a political activist.
That's right, man.
And could you please explain to us your red cap with the letters MMRGA?
Yeah, man, this is my MARGA hat.
MARGA?
Yeah, man, that stands for Make My Retirement Great Again.
I see.
And to do that, what you need to do is call David Ernest,
the asset preservationist.
That's right, man. You can call David at 833-596-7233. That's 833-596-SAFE.
And I understand that's a toll-free number.
Yeah, man. Get David Ernest on the case, and your retirement will be great again.
And you make these hats?
I do. Here's a whole pile left from the last administration.
And they say CPWABD.
Yeah, man. Corn Pop was a bad dude.
And as you said, there's a whole pile here.
Well, there wasn't much demand.
I can dig it.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson with the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. Here are several ways to attract more buyers to your home. First, price it right to sell, not to sit. An accurate market analysis will tell you what price it should be. Next, prepare the home to show and sell by deep cleaning by a professional cleaner, including carpet. Declutter all rooms, including closets. Evaluate flooring, replace if needed. Paint inside and out where needed, and make the kitchen and bath sparkle. How about the exterior? Are the colors faded on the shutters or fascia? Power washing them and all sidewalks and driveways and patios prior to listing the house. Remember, your price and curb appeal will create a showing appointment. Your condition condition of the house will make them stay and look longer and buy quicker. For all the steps you need to take to get your house ready for sale, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 334-221-2883 or 334-551-0225.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Mr. Electric of Montgomery. Mr. Electric, we've got the power to make things better. Visit MrElectric.com.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. It continues to be a fairly routine forecast for early part of August. There will be a good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, and some spotty random afternoon or evening storms are possible. In fact, that'll be the scenario right on through Saturday at least. I've got us around 93 for a high temperature today, closer to 94 tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. And guess what? The heat index will be back in the triple-digit range, with lows at night in the lower 70s and somewhat better rain chances perhaps by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back, folks. Let's go right to the phones. Again, we have Andrew Szymanski still here in studio with us. Of course, he's on the Montgomery City Council if you're on Valium or something. I've been living under a rock. Anyway, let's go to Urbanite. Hey, Urbanite, how you doing?
How you doing? Hey, I don't know if this is his district or at the border of his district, but the old governor's mansion, what's going on with that project right now, that area?
The governor's mansion, or do you mean the governor's hotel?
Yeah, the old hotel.
It's gone.
Yeah, but I mean, is there something planned for it?
Well, I think that the first step was getting that all taken care of, getting the site, and then, a focus has always been on making sure that our gateways are cleaned up and in position to take on new businesses, so we can continue to peel people off of the interstate on their trips down to the beach or from the beach. So that was a huge first step, and every time I drive by that part of the Southern Boulevard, that's in Councilor Riley's district, District 4. But it's a great thing to see. And I moved to Montgomery in 2010, so I know that people remember the Governor's Hotel as this like really amazing place back whenever it was. But so I never got to see it in its glory, but I am glad to see that it's gone.
All right. So in that same note, do you ever think we'll ever get another hotel chain or conventional level hotel other than something the RSA is running? Or do you think the RSA runs interference on that kind of stuff?
Well, I haven't seen any evidence of that. I mean, look, we just had the ribbon cutting a week or two ago for the 2 brand new hotels behind the Biscuit Stadium. And now I'm going to forget what it's Home 2 Suites and Marriott brand something. They have so many hotels. I have so many hotels.
Thanks for being in Montgomery.
Yeah, thanks for being in Montgomery. We really appreciate it. No, but it's great. I mean, and actually, I had some folks that were staying over there. It's right by the Little Donkey restaurant and the new Plaza Pizza. And so we've seen hotels popping up all across the city. And that's to meet a lot of demands, just military, tourism, business. And so, I would be optimistic and hopeful that that site has either that kind of potential or other kind of potential to be good business partners on that part of Southern Boulevard.
You ever foresee another hotel going over by Crampton Bowl?
Another hotel?
By Crampton Bowl?
Oh, yeah. What's funny is that, yes, I remember when they tore that down. I know that their estate has acquired the property. The city has been working with them on a project over there in that big lot. And I don't know. I haven't heard, but I mean, just with the rate of the needs for rooms, I mean, I think hotels are still a very viable opportunity for us, and hopefully something that we're helping to bring to town to meet that need.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it, overnight.
Thank you.
And bringing up RSA, that was my thought when the convention center was mentioned. Is number one, it's going to be more than 200 million. Just is.
Wait a minute. Government projects going over budget?
Yeah, shocking. It's going to be.
Joey.
It is obviously going to be more. Did they do like a Superfund impact study on that property? Isn't there something going on?
Yeah, no, they had done one previously. ADEM had done one. We had the urban farm over there, and that had all been looked at. I know that when we were talking about the acquisition of the advertiser property, that was on the table as well. Because obviously, anytime you're next to that kind of an industrial site or train tracks, you have those things you have to look at.
So, but it's it would be more than 200 million. So the only institution in this area that I would think could actually back that fully would be RSA.
No, I mean, well,
and why not have some partnership with RSA?
Well, that part of the question, you're right. And I think that was one of the things that I talked to some of my colleagues about, and I know that they had reached out to people that they knew over at RSA to kind of see what the potential buy-in is because look, these kind of projects, in my opinion, are best when you have partners at the table, right? You look down at Mobile, for example, and you look at the big convention center that they have. And I asked the question about it last night, and you see that they're announcing, or that they had announced that they had the Oakview Group that was, one of the world's premier event-based management companies that was on board. They had Regions with the naming sponsorship. They had worked with the other governments in the area to create essentially a tax or fee on hotel room nights for people coming in that was going to help finance the bond. As I mentioned, Coca-Cola earlier, they had the city put in, 10%. There was a $30 million bond, but they also had Ticketmaster Live Nation at the table. They had Jefferson County at the table. RSA is a player just like that. And so, yeah, I mean, my opinion about the arena is I would love to have that, right? But financing it outright ourselves without, the other partners at the table, or at least that had been presented to me in the conversations that I had had with my colleagues about the project, I'd love to have something that we only had to pay, 20% of, 30% of, and then have the benefit of having the full thing. And I think we've learned a lesson. I mean, I think it's I have been the loudest, maybe, I don't want to give myself too much credit, but I've been a pretty outspoken supporter of Montgomery Whitewater.
Yes.
I think we all would have loved to, in retrospect, had more partners at the table ready to go so that the hotel would already be built, so that some of the future retail that was promised was done within a timeline that we were all kind of expecting, and to have those kind of things. And that was maybe one of the reasons why, I had some pause here, which, was a hard thing for me to come to because, as I said, I want this, right? I'm 40 years old. I want more young people to come here. I want to make sure we have the next generation of folks buying homes. We have great new subdivisions that are being built in the eastern part and off Atlanta Highway. I want to see more of those in other parts of the city as well to really capitalize on. And in order to get those new residents here, we have to have something like this. But yeah, an opportunity to not pay the full bill, I'm definitely all for that.
I don't know. I'm glad that for now we're back to everybody's just talking.
Yeah, we need to talk. It needs to be collaborative.
Let's go to Chris. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey guys, real quick, when y'all budget for employees, like supposedly y'all budget $400 for the police officers, and we don't really know, at least maybe how many are actually have been hired or are employed by the Montgomery Montgomery Police Department. Where does that money go that y'all have budgeted but is not being used?
So we oftentimes will take the opportunity, you'll hear us talk about our capital project funds. That money can go into, whether it be building projects, it can go into equipment acquisition. We can go into, like we were talking about, making it a larger investment in putting fiber down in different areas of the city, increasing street lighting. So that kind of goes into that category, more of the capital project side of things. The money obviously stays within the city, but then it isn't part of our actual operating budget. It's for other parts of the city. It could be for Parks and Rec. It could be for street maintenance, street paving, those kind of projects.
Who oversees that money?
Depends. I mean, obviously it comes from the mayor's office, CFO, and then, that was one of the reasons why when I made sure that when I came on the council, I thought it was really important for the city council to pass the contract limit resolution when it came to city funds, because I wanted us to have more of a say, to have a better understanding of how the city was spending money. And so anything outside the budget, like the things I just mentioned now, if it's in that kind of above the 50,000, it'll get proposed to us, and then it actually comes through the council before those contracts move forward. So, but obviously, kind of generates out of the mayor's office and the city departments that are requesting those funds.
How much money's in that account right now? Do you know?
I think last year, roughly, we were in about the $26 million that was moved on over. And then we'll obviously see, throughout the year, they're making those expenditures, buying more police vehicles. I know we bought that fleet of motorcycles recently, and then the other things that we've done. So when we come up to the budget, which actually is an important thing to note for people, is that we're in the heart of budget season right now. Our fiscal year goes October to October. So we'll actually see where all that over the last year kind of landed us. So ask me again in a month and I'll tell you exactly what that was.
And then other thing, when y'all do a bond, y'all go out, who's advising y'all on these bonds?
Well, the city will reach out to, have the different bond agents that are available to kind of figure out what the market's doing, when the right time to hit the market is. And that was also kind of the conversation that we were having was there was some question about, how much the bond financing was going to cost us. But I know that there's some larger players in the state that kind of actually get us there. What we were really kind of hung up on was the letter of intent to give the next step, or to give the mayor the opportunity to go to the bond market, actually secure the bond agents to move this thing forward. Before we got there, there's more discussions to be had at the committee level, and then we'll see, that'll be selected after we actually move forward with that.
In the Civic Center, is it going to be a revenue bond, or is it just straight up debt?
Well, as proposed, the way we understood it was that it was going to be just the $375 million municipal bond. So essentially, I think it was like a 30-year amortized bond, with some of the details, kind of when principal was going to get due and whatnot, kind of worked out into that. But again, we were still we have to pass the letter of intent to go pursue that, and then kind of evaluate it at that point.
And then Glenn Pruitt also, he had, there was a conversation on Facebook. He talked about how his discussion was that we use the old Montgomery Advertising building as the new police department. And I guess that'd go right in the face of maybe putting that Civic Center there or whatever y'all trying to do. Have y'all talked any further about that, and just using an existing facility like that and just move the police department over there?
I love the idea of using an existing facility if it saves us money. My only thing about that piece of property is I actually think that it's anytime you have a piece of property that has, it's kind of adjacent to something like the river, I actually think you might be able to find more use kind of highlighting that. I think the value of that property is one that, you could see, as I talked about, we could still do some kind of large quality of life project there, a big entertainment economy project there. The police department, I think there's a question about where the most effective place for it to be would be. No one had talked to me about that being police headquarters previously, so I can't really comment on what Glenn knows about the site that I don't. But, I think that, we need to be very careful about where we put things and what we think are real opportunities to have the biggest return on investment. And one thing I would just consider is that, it's a pretty unique location to have it where you've got that oversight over the river, and one that I'd really want to make sure we were thinking the police department was the best use of that, or if there was something that may have a larger return for us, while still making sure that the police goes somewhere that is effective, easy for them to access, and state of the art.
Appreciate the call, Chris. Good call, man.
Yeah, I'll be going.
Thank you.
And, I think a lot of this does come down to some of the perception. I read this quote to you off air, but this was Coach Tuberville in front of the chamber, and all the, the mayor sitting right there next to him. Doug Singleton's the chair of county commission sitting right there next to him. And he essentially said, the cavalry is coming. The cavalry's coming. We're going to have safe streets. We're going to have safe neighborhoods. We're going to support law enforcement. The city is the capital of the state of Alabama. It should be number one. It should be growing leaps and bounds. And so I think for Sean K. Ivey, I just admit it. Like, I've been saying you could exhume George Wallace in his old bones. We might see some more action coming out of the governor's office. But and I know the governor's office hasn't been that dead on the job. They actually have been. The Max unit is a big part of, I think, some of the improvement we have had. But it does seem like you've got a guy who, if you have a governor who can really convince the rest of the legislature and the population, let's invest in our capital city, doesn't that just accrue to our benefit here in Montgomery?
I mean, investment in the capital city, yeah, of course. And, wanting to have safe streets and neighborhoods, wanting to have vibrancy and a super active business community. We talked about the airport before. These are all things that I think anybody, and I know my colleagues, agree with across the board. And so the question is how can we do that in a collaborative way that yields what we want it to yield, right? Not just the idea of doing it, but actually doing things that really citizens are feeling. And so, I do believe, and I've, and I know the chamber were the host for that, and they would agree that Montgomery's been doing a lot in terms of gaining investment, bringing businesses here. The large scale development projects that we've been doing has put us, as one that's gotten a lot of recognition. And yet we still keep coming to this conversation about the citizens not feeling like they can really they believe that the city is in the same position that some of us see numbers telling us it is, right? And that's maybe the most important and hardest part about, how we approach this is that you got to remember that perception in a lot of cases is reality. And we want people to champion Montgomery. I want people to start saying the positive things. I was in Birmingham yesterday, and I was in a room with mayors from across Jefferson County. The mayor of Birmingham was there, and it was really interesting to hear how much positivity was just leaking out of everything that people were saying up there. And yet, they face a lot of the same challenges there. I have friends that are residents that are up there that, have issues of public safety, hear the gunshots at night, have concerns about certain areas of their town, and yet they have found ways to kind of
I very much pointed out that when Woodfin just got that Crime Stoppers award, and you see the numbers and the turnaround there, not only higher police force numbers, but in enforcement and crime statistics dropping off a cliff in a great way. And so I'm like, well, if Birmingham can do that, we can do that.
Yeah, and we've been keeping pace, as we've talked about, on the investment, salaries. Now we have the new bonuses. There was a great presentation by the police department last night about how they're internally are motivating themselves to help be recruiters. Every police officer that's on the force now, and I mean, they are working their butts off to try and make sure that we have a community that is, and as safe as it can be. Partnerships are good, right? I'm from the city of Boston. You go into downtown Boston right now, right? You will walk around and you will see Boston PD, state troopers, Capitol Police. It is all about us believing in our capital city. I have this argument with people all the time about, whether or not it's Huntsville, whether or not it's Birmingham, whether or not it's Mobile. Everybody is, working hard to try and, bring the things that we want to see here. We're also being honest. You and I have been having this conversation about some of the deficits that we have. And I want to see those things turn around, and to have somebody coming into office saying that they're going to be helpful in that process. And the key word is collaborative, right? And that is where we see the most success, is that there has to be collaboration in the approach to make sure that we're getting all the things we need, whether it be investment on the business side and the industrial side, whether it be, support and logistics on public safety side. And then also at the end of the day, being really good champions about the things that are good, so that we are making sure that people are really thinking hard about where they select to be their next place to call home. We want that to be Montgomery, right? You want that to be the capital city. That's what capital cities are for. And, I think we're in a unique position because we're one of those states that has a smaller capital city than, some of the other surroundings municipalities. But, that doesn't mean that there is not a ton of opportunity here. And when I talk to people that come to Montgomery, that get into our neighborhoods, they voice all of the new residents talk about all the great things. And then, they come to me and they say well, how do we fix these last couple of things? And you have to remind people that we're working at it. I see the challenges, and it sounds like, from the comments that were made that, that there is a focus potentially on really trying to invest in our city, and hopefully those things yield the things that are said.
I think that's a good note to end on as well. And, but where I come down on this, and
sure,
I guess another way to put what I say every day is Carthage must be destroyed. It's just the thing that I will constantly say. I think we need new leadership at the top. My issue is not with the council or many other folks around here. But that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. And the people will get to decide next year. Anyway, appreciate your time as always, man.
Glad to be on. And as I said, it is budget season, so people should be paying attention and listening into what we have coming up. And, it's about to be those fall months. And, I'm really excited. This is when Maxwell starts buzzing. Schools come back in. We get all these wonderful folks that are here in the city. Love having that military presence come back to town.
It's going to cool down.
Yeah, it's going to cool down. And, some really great activities and events that are on the horizon. Was really excited about the upcoming season for the Shakespeare Festival. And just a reminder that, in those conversations about what's not great at times, some really awesome things here in our city.
Well, like I said, appreciate it, man.
Always.
We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
You want your floors to scream new, fresh, and stylish. But if yours are groaning, tired, old, and outdated, you're in luck. Because at Prattville Carpet, you can revitalize your floors while you save on the best brands available with perfect and professional installation and Prattville's unbeatable lifetime warranty.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Start shopping for your floors right now at PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
Lunch should be comforting and done right. At Epicure and Jack's Tavern, their meat and three is scratch made to order, not scooped from a steam table. Real cooking, real portions. And for guests 60 and over, it's just $10.99. It's familiar food, elevated, served with care. Lunch at Epicure and Jack's Tavern. Classic Southern comfort, a step above the rest.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Michael Cohen with Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, the day's going by very swiftly. How's it going there at Cohen's?
Well, it's going great. Had a lot of deliveries today. And got a call from one of our customers wanting to know where the truck was. We're going to the lake, or one truck went to the lake today. So she's getting her appliances. She ought to be getting them about now. So that's all good. And then we've got TVs been going out, and they're coming back to get some TVs to take out for their afternoon shift. And so it's just rocking and rolling. It's been a good day.
You have any special deals still on some TVs that are still great TVs, but they're not, say, the newest models?
I did get some deals from my rep on some of the Samsung TVs. So I do have some last year model TVs that are trickling in that you can get a hell of a deal on.
Yeah, and they're still
I can still get you an 85-inch for $1,000, and I've got other deals that some of them are more expensive, some of them are less expensive.
Yeah, but like folks, and people might think, well, I already got a 65 or 55. What more is a few more? And no, it makes a world of difference. Like that's a great TV.
It's just like you got to go to geometry class and do your length times width to see how many, when you go from 75 from a 65, you're getting 10 inches across the top and 10 inches down one side. That's a lot of viewing area. And when you go from 65 to 85 or what have you. It's a bigger difference than people think, and it does. And the cool thing is it doesn't take up much more real estate left to right. You know, from a 65 at 57, you're at about 66. Then you're at about 75 for an 85 inch. So you're only getting a little bit wider to get a lot more viewing area.
Well, folks, I really encourage you to get by Cohen's, whether on the appliance side or the electronics side. And of course, you can always look online at thinkcohens.com, but you should stop by 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. They're open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And find Michael, be like, hey, I heard you on that radio show with that Joey fella.
That's right. That's right. Han Solo.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I don't know.
Rock
I'll
and
invite
roll.
people back, but I'm enjoying the solo life for the time being.
I bet. So, y'all come see us, ask us some questions, let us ask you some questions, and let us help you make the right choice for whatever your needs are, whether they're appliances or electronics. And have a great day and stay cool.
Appreciate you, Michael. Again, Michael Cohen with Cohen's Electronics and Appliances, 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. I would like to be able to hit a break here, but somebody has taken over my computer screen remotely. No, it's not the government. I think it's our producer at large working behind the scenes on something. So coming up, we can get into the whole socialism thing. Also, this fraud task force that the White House has been working on. In particular, this one number was crazy about Medicaid fraud. 9.2 million people, 46% of Medicaid expansion enrollees likely did not qualify for the program. Wow. If that's true, because that's such a big number, I don't know. But if that's true, holy crap. That is, that's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. You also have Dr. Oz and a lot of the folks that are working at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid just finding crazy things. Over 96% of personal care claims were illness unspecified. I believe this is in California. That's how they're titled, so we can't track them. Average payments per beneficiary, more than 50 grand, far above what you'd ever expect. All of this points to fraud. The deputy CMS administrator, Kimberly Brandt, essentially was saying that they've shut down all sorts of hospices in California in particular because they just weren't, they were like Leering Center. And, there's all this money that was put up to make sure we're taking care of folks at the end of life. And folks were abusing that program. It's awful. Absolutely awful. But of course, the VP says they found, a ridiculous amount of fraud already just in the few months. Billions. So we'll see how they're going to pursue this because it's unnerving how much money all this is. Anyway, we'll be right back after this.
From the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Multiple people are reported dead after a mass shooting. It happened in North Carolina. Deputies with the Caswell County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to Prospect Hill, an unincorporated town. The North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation says several people have been killed. The world is watching and waiting. President Trump says a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz could come as early as today. Iran and Oman appear to be inching toward an agreement on that waterway. It could ease pressure on the global economy and potentially help bring an end to the war. Missouri Congressman Wesley Bell wins a Democratic primary rematch against former Representative Cori Bush. In western Missouri, Republicans pick State Senator Rick Bratton to try to unseat Democratic Representative Emmanuel Cleaver. Republicans already hold 6 of Missouri's 8 congressional seats. This is SRN News.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Victoryland.
Win a BMW X7 or your share of $25,000 in free play during Victoryland Casino's BMW and $25,000 free play giveaway. The more you visit, the more chances you have to win. Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. It continues to be a fairly routine forecast for early part of August. There will be a good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, and some spotty random afternoon and evening storms are possible. In fact, that'll be the scenario right on through Saturday at least. I've got us around 93 for a high temperature today, closer to 94 tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. And guess what? The heat index will be back in the triple-digit range, with lows at night in the lower 70s and somewhat better rain chances perhaps by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
1819 News.
The Republican who is running in the Secretary of State race here in Alabama is now weighing in on the New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani. Caroline Dobson put out a social media post after Mamdani held a press conference this week about a government-run grocery store. Dobson's comments come in light of the fact that those who will enter this grocery store must present government-issued IDs in order for them to shop. In that same city, Mamdani opposes the use of IDs in voting precincts and during elections. This opens up the door for illegal aliens to vote. Dobson wrote that it's bad enough that Mamdani is trying to drive away local businesses with his communist scheme for grocery stores, but she also says he clearly cares more about selling Twinkies to customers than protecting the integrity of the ballot box from illegal voting. Dobson says that the redneck character from the Andy Griffith Show, Ernest T. Bass, has more common sense than every socialist Democrat who is supporting Mamdani. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Mark your calendar for November 6th. The Albert Patterson Gala returns to the Barber Motorsports Museum featuring United States Senator Tommy Tuberville. We've sold out 2 years running and tables are already filling for 2026. If you believe in a thriving Alabama built on truth, courage, and accountability, this is your night. Don't miss your chance. Visit 1819news.com/gala. That's 1819news.com/gala to get your table today.
Police in Daphne say that a child picked up a dollar bill in a place of business which had white powder on it. That turned out to be the drug methamphetamine. The child was medically evaluated and determined to be okay. Investigators do not believe the dollar bill was intentionally placed in that business to cause harm, but police are using the incident as a warning for parents to be alert to such situations. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Vaughan Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark. Joey Clark.
Welcome back. So, I apologize to people that were commenting about Andrew Szymanski, but David Matthews for Congress said I can solve the problem, Joey. He says, leverage the Defense Community Infrastructure Program to develop the airport. Section 10 USC 2391D or something like that. Oh, David Matthews does know things. There's no doubt about that. And of course, he is running for Congress in the brand new district too, was commenting on the stream. I'm just seeing these, so apologize. And Romex Angler was also talking about the bamboo forest on Fairview between Hull and Court Street. A tree line should never be used to replace curbing on the road. Yeah, again, Romex Angler, sorry, I'm just seeing these. 272-9228. Now, speaking of money being spent, you know, when you talk about these city projects, you don't want corruption, you don't want wasted money. But you're like, say Montgomery was like perfect, and Birmingham was perfect, and Mobile was perfect, and Huntsville was perfect. Like there was no, like all the citizens were convinced, even you curmudgeons, that nothing's ever good enough, that no dollar was misspent. There was no waste whatsoever. You're like, we're doing pretty good, right? And then you look at what the feds are doing in our name, and you're like, well, damn. Now, Alabama did not expand Medicaid, I don't believe. Trying to think, did we do certain little portions of the population? But I don't think we took the full Obamacare expansion. And so a new report, new finding just came out. This is, I think, from the Will Cain show on Fox. Get a load of these numbers in terms of fraudulent activity.
9.2 million adults.
9.2 million.
That enrolled in Obamacare's Medicaid expansion may not have met federal eligibility requirements in 2024. That's 46% of expansion enrollment that year, and an estimated $33 billion in taxpayer costs. Paragon's founder testified on those findings today.
There's the federal eligibility rules that the federal government does a very poor job of enforcing.
Do all states follow the federal rules?
No, they don't.
Some of them cheat, don't they?
Many of them cheat.
Paragon Health Institute President Brian Blase testified at that hearing, and he joins me now. Brian, 46% of enrollment expansion may have been fraudulent?
Yeah, he will. Thanks for having me on. You know, Medicaid is a joint federal-state program traditionally for the most vulnerable citizens, children, people with disabilities, senior citizens. Obamacare dramatically expanded Medicaid to able-bodied working-age adults. And the way Medicaid works, the federal government reimburses state spending. The federal government pays states 7 times more when they enroll an able-bodied working-age adult through the Obamacare expansion.
Wow. Crazy numbers. And that question that Senator Kennedy asked, he didn't just ask that fella. 9.2 million, that's right. But he didn't just ask that gentleman. Kennedy had another fella in front of him. Former Medicaid official Andy Schneider, I believe is his name. And I think the problem is Mr. Schneider was, well, like a lot of bureaucrats. Like I worked there for years. States don't cheat. There's no problem with the programs. We have systems that check on this stuff. Well, maybe your systems aren't worth squat. And at a certain point, you don't want to admit the problem if it's been under your watch. But here's Senator Kennedy asking the similar question. Do states cheat on the Medicaid eligibility rules? Let's listen in.
Sir, I'm sorry. Don't you think we ought to put people in jail for cheating?
Senator, I do not believe states are cheating.
You don't believe they're
I do
cheating?
not believe
All
that.
right. If they were cheating, what planet did you just parachute in from? Sir?
Sir,
You don't
I've worked
believe
on this.
states are
I've
cheating?
worked on this program for a long time.
But I'm be
It's
sure to
not
understand,
perfect,
you don't
but
believe
states do
you
not
don't
cheat.
believe states are cheating.
I do not believe states are
Do you
cheating.
believe in the tooth fairy? Sir? Do you believe in the Easter bunny? Do you believe that Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes? You're not answering.
I do not believe states are cheating in their administration of the Medicaid program.
Okay. I'm glad you have some water in front of you because your pants are on fire.
God bless John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy. But yeah, it's just like, oh no, we've been working on these for years. There's no way. Nobody's cheating. Nobody, like, what are you people belly aching about? Everything. This huge flow of billions and billions and billions of dollars adds up to trillions pretty quick over the years. There's nobody's playing with the system to tap into that huge flow of money. And the states wouldn't cheat. It's not like they're incentivized to get federal dollars to, it would be nice, right, if Montgomery could like have a printing press, right? Or the state of Alabama could have a printing press, but we don't. So what do? Well, a lot of people's idea is you just hook up to the money spigot that is coming from the federal government and let it rip. And I suppose there's something to be said for that game. But it seems like we, as a nation, have been abusing that. On this fraud front, the vice president hosted some big roundtable about it earlier today. And, well, here's what J.D. Vance, he definitely hopes to be the next president. I don't know if that's going to come to pass. Like, I still think it's too early. Everybody's assuming it's going to be Rubio or Vance. I don't know. Weirder things have happened. Like, if I'll be straight up, if I had to choose a day, I would go with Vance over Rubio. But that's subject to change. We've got an eternity until 2028. But here's the vice president talking about the fraud task force stood up by the White House.
Here to kick off what has at this point been an informal effort, which is working with Congress to help us combat fraud. So as you know, when the President of the United States started the fraud task force and really set the federal government to taking a whole of government approach to the anti-fraud issue, that was mainly an administrative thing. That was something we were working with our colleagues at H&HS, at DOJ, at all of the various agencies of the federal government in trying to root out fraud. And I'd remind all of you and remind the American people and remind what these congressmen and senators don't need reminding, which is that fraud is really a dual victim crime. The most obvious victim, of course, is the American taxpayer, who has their hard-earned tax dollars stolen from them to enrich people who are violating our laws and taking advantage of our country. But I think more profoundly and more sadly, the second victim of fraud are the people who benefit from programs that the American people have set up in their generosity and in their kindness of spirit, and those programs don't function as well or don't even have the resources necessary to work because they've been stolen from by fraudsters. I think an example that is particularly close to my heart because we have a 2-week-old newborn at home is a program that we set up through the Medicaid program to actually provide high-quality health care to new moms and to newborn infants. To people who can't afford high-quality health care, we, as a generous nation, ensure that they have access to the resources that they need. And yet, we have, working with DOJ and others, we have identified, prosecuted a number of cases of people where they have taken from this program, not provided an ounce of service to a new mom or a young baby, and enriched themselves by literally taking money from the medical care of newborn infants. This is despicable behavior, and it's something that we've allowed to go on for too long in the United States of America.
Yeah, because, well, we're so rich. Who cares? And the bias has been towards, well, you don't want to take some of that much-needed service for young children, for newborns. You don't want to take it away. So we can't be too strict on the implementation of this stuff. But you end up with the same effect if you're too loose on it. And you're working on the honor system. We got too much stuff, especially money flows that are absurdly high, that are being done essentially on, well, an honor system basis. And it's just, we have a bunch of bureaucratic checks and whatnot, but people know how to work the system. So the vice president makes clear, though, that the executive branch, the presidency, can only do so much. They need Congress to actually solve a lot of these issues they've uncovered, which Congress get right on it, right? They'll just hop right at the command of the vice president, I'm sure, but let's listen in.
That we really need to do and that we can't do at the federal government without the cooperation of the Congress. And the first that I would say the most important of these is data sharing. So when we've looked at the anti-fraud efforts that we've taken, one of the weirdest and most difficult parts of this is the black box that exists around certain state programs. So for example, the SNAP program, which provides food resources to low-income people, it quite literally feeds hungry moms and children in our country, something that is very important and that I know every person at this table supports. We know that there is a lot of fraud in the SNAP program. We know that there are illegal aliens who benefit from the SNAP program, people who have no legal right to be in the country. We would like to stop that. But I think the American people would be shocked to learn, because I was certainly shocked when I learned it a few months ago, that when we send tax dollars to the states to administer the SNAP program, we have no visibility into who is ultimately getting those benefits. In other words, if the state of California gives those food stamp benefits to an illegal alien, to a violent criminal, the federal government has no visibility, and sometimes the states themselves have no visibility. So we need to work with Congress, and we need some legislation that would actually force some data sharing between the state governments and the federal governments. We need to know where your tax dollars are going. And if the state of California or the state of New York isn't going to tell us, we need Congress to force them to tell us. And I think that's the first and most important thing that we would like to do. The second is that we would like to see stiffer penalties for fraudsters. One of the things I said at the very beginning of the task force is that I was shocked by how often we would just let low-level fraud go. Like $1 million of fraud, that's a lot of money. A person who had enriched themselves to the tune of $1 million, sometimes we wouldn't even prosecute this stuff. And even when we do prosecute it, we are limited by the penalties applied. The most important thing that we can do in prosecuting fraud is to make sure that the people who engage in fraud actually suffer some real penalties. And so we would love to work with all of you and see some stiffer penalties for the people that we're successfully prosecuting. We are throwing a lot of people behind bars, but we're limited in some ways by the statutes that exist. We'd like to change those statutes and actually make it harder for people to commit fraud and make sure that when they do commit fraud, they go to jail, and they go to jail for a long time. And finally, we need a little bit of money, not a lot of money, and frankly, we're saving way more money than we're taking in, but the Fraud Task Force, it involves every single agency of the federal government. Every single cabinet secretary has been great, and I want to give a special shout out to some of our all-stars, Bobby Kennedy at H&HS, Kelly Loeffler at SBA, Brooke at the Department of Agriculture. We've really had a whole of government. Our soon-to-be new Attorney General, Todd Blanche, has just been amazing to work with, and I know other people will say more about that. But we need a little bit of resources, because while we're saving the American people billions and billions of dollars, and we're not spending very much, we need a little bit more appropriated to expand this fraud effort. I think we'll save even more money in the process. It's the sort of investment that, unlike most of the money you guys spend, it never comes back to DC. Every dollar you give us comes back at least 5 or 10-fold. So it's a good investment, and it's the sort of thing that we need to see happen. But without further ado, I want to kick it over to our amazing
team on the task force. So a lot of great stuff there, like getting stuff done. But it sounds like in order to actually tackle all these issues they've found, Congress is going to have to move on it. And do we think that's going to happen? Nah, that ain't happening. Here's Stephen Miller underlying a point J.D. Vance was just saying. But say you do find somebody, like somebody defrauded a particular program for nutrition assistance or a medical program, defrauded millions of dollars. Well, let's listen in. Okay. Thank you, Supervisor. Let's listen in. This is Stephen Miller laying out, well, there's no penalties and no way to actually well, there's some penalties, but they ain't big.
First of all, true, as the vice president said, as hard as it is to believe, that for most recent history, which in the case of these programs would be in the history of these programs, if you committed $1 million of fraud or less, you were unlikely to ever be criminally punished in any way at all. And if for some strange reason in the past, a bureaucrat had the courage to defy that agency guidance and actually bring you to trial and put you in front of a jury, you'd be unlikely to do any real jail time at all. And this may be hard to believe that you could steal hundreds of thousands and ultimately millions of dollars and not do any significant jail time. Again, you can look at the sentences for the Feeding Our Futures fraud, which is one of the largest frauds in the history of any country anywhere in Minnesota, to see this. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think probably the simplest, least conspiratorial explanation is that when Congress was drafting these statutes, they still lived, to use the phrase that used a lot today, in a high-trust society, and it eclipsed their imagination that there would be systemic, widespread, continual lying, fleecing, and organized crime to rip off hundreds of billions of dollars from the American taxpayer, which is what has happened. So there needs to be strict, clear, mandatory minimums. Because by the time you've been convicted, you have already proven to a jury, this is not a civil punishment, this is you've proven to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that you deliberately, willfully, maliciously engage in a scheme to steal from the American taxpayer and from those in genuine need. And when you've satisfied 12 jurors of that fact and been convicted, you deserve to have a very substantial prison sentence. That change alone would be watershed for fighting fraud, because it would mean that the Department of Justice would be able to, through prosecuting a few hundred or thousand cases in a year, be able to chill the criminal conduct of millions. Whereas right now, no matter how many people you prosecute, you're still left with the criminal element thinking, I'm willing to risk 6 months in jail for $5 million in ill-gotten gains. And we've reached the point, and again, only because of President Trump and the Vice President's leadership is this happening. We've reached a point as a country, until we came along, as hard as it is to believe, where we have federal law enforcement in cities around the country who have to conduct weeks or months-long investigations of daycares where there are no children present at all, to be able to then go into a court of law and say, no kids on Monday, no kids on Tuesday, no kids on Wednesday, no kids on Thursday, right? And this is the real thing. We have federal law enforcement officers who then they have to issue subpoenas and search warrants to get phone records, email records, financial records. And what does it all end up with? You go to a jury in Minnesota and you say the defendant has collected $7 million for a daycare, claiming to be taking care of 100 children for 6 months, and we found one kid attended in that entire time, and he was the nephew. So you spent months of federal effort. When you do that and you're found guilty, you belong in jail for a very long time.
Amen, brother. But Congress is going to have to move on this, because this is, it's crazy. There's no way to actually go about things, but it's the way the system has worked for a long, long time. And thus the problems. This is what you expect. Again, when you create money flows through a massive bureaucracy that are worth tens of billions, hundreds of billions, trillions over the years, of course people are going to be taking advantage of that. Of course. And then you have no clawback mechanism. You have no consequences. Of course people are taking advantage of that. So I don't have a lot of hope in Congress actually moving on much anything. But at least they've found the problem. 272-9228. It's 334-272-9228. This is part of the program brought to you by a brand new sponsor here on our show, Eclectic Coins. They're located at 543 Northeastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. Real easy to find. And go by, see Doug over there. I went by the other day. I mean, they've got all sorts of stuff going on. In particular, really cool new form of currency called goldbacks. So they come in multiple dollar denominations. So $1, $5, but actually it's not the dollar denomination that matters. when you're talking about a gold back, what you're actually talking about is a piece of, well, currency that is literally has the gold in it. It's pretty incredible. Like, and of course they have commemorative coins, they have historic coins, they have stackables and gold, silver. So maybe you're looking to buy some, you're a collector, maybe you're looking to sell some, you're going to get a fair price and a good deal over there. But in particular, if you've been looking for like hard money, sound money, money that you know is going to keep its worth, go in there, ask Doug about the gold backs. Because it's a really cool new concept. Many states are actually starting to mint them, and the state of Alabama needs to get on it. I would love to see the state of Alabama actually get on it. But goldbacks are essentially private, voluntary local currency made of fractional 24-karat gold sealed inside protective polymer films. So there are a lot of states that are now accepting it, a lot more vendors now accepting it. So each one goldback note contains precisely 1/1000th of a troy ounce of pure 24-karat gold. So it's really a very cool way if you want to have that sort of money that's going to keep its value over time. You buy there, but like I said, they also have commemorative coins, a lot of collectible coins over there, historic coins if you are a collector, or say you have a collection, perhaps inherited a collection of a lot of different types of coins, a lot of different, say, issues of gold and silver, like, and you don't know what to do with it. Like, you don't know what to make sense of it. That was Dad's thing. That was Uncle so-and-so's thing. Well, why not get in touch with Eclectic Coins? Just call them up or just stop by. Again, that's 543 Northeastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. 543 Northeastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. Or you can always call them at 649-1015. That's 649-1015. And be sure to tell Doug. Brand new sponsor. Really enjoyed meeting with him. He's got quite a story himself. And I think you're going to be very impressed, folks, when you stop by there. Not only the great selection they have across the board with collectible coins, historic coins, stackables, you're also going to find that, well, this is a guy that really knows his stuff. He really knows the industry in and out. Easy to work with. So y'all check him out today. And be sure to tell Doug over there at Eclectic Coins that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. We'll be right back after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
We get a lot of questions about what all we handle at Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. I'm Hannah Grantham.
And I'm Eddie Bader, and we will handle all of your real estate needs.
We handle all your buying and selling needs, from your first home, next home, land, investment property, and even commercial properties.
We do it all and have the experience that shows you what makes us different.
So when you think real estate, think Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. Look us up on Facebook or give us a call at 334-368-6358. And let us show you who you have on your sign matters.
What are you getting? Still deciding, but I do know on August 11th, I'm choosing Rhett Marcus for Congress. Why Rhett Marcus? Because he's a true conservative, endorsed by President Trump and Senator Katie Britt. Oh, then you can trust him. And he's a small business owner, not a politician.
Sounds like this choice on August 11th is the easiest decision we'll ever make.
Remember to vote on August 11th. I'm Rhett Marcus, the Trump-endorsed candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Rhett for Alabama.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
In today's market, one of the most misunderstood steps of buying a home is getting pre-approved. Some people avoid it because they think it means they're committing to buy right now, while others rush through it online without understanding what their purchasing power really is and the next steps in the process. Here's the truth. A pre-approval provides clarity. It tells you what you can do, not what you have to do. It helps you shop with confidence instead of guessing, and it gives you real numbers based on your finances, not estimates from an online calculator. At Alabama Home Mortgage, pre-approval is about preparation, education, and strategy. Whether you're ready to buy next month or next year, we help you understand your options so you can move forward on your timeline. And if you're not quite ready yet, that's okay. We'll help you get there because smart home ownership requires precision, not a rush decision. Let us help you prepare so when the right opportunity comes along, you're ready. Give us a call at Alabama Home Mortgage today, 334-567-4223, or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. That's My Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586368, Equal Housing Lender.
This is your roving reporter. Today I'm talking with a man from outer space.
What's up, Earthling?
I see you've landed your spacecraft over there in that field.
That's right, man.
My question is, why have you landed here on our planet?
I came to see David Ernest.
The asset preservationist?
Yeah, man. I wanted to see if he would take a look at my portfolio for me.
Well, before you make the trip over there, call him on his toll-free number, 833-596-7233.
And I understand those last 4 digits spell out the word safe.
That is correct.
Funny thing happened the last time I came to Earth.
What was that?
I went to the Walmart, man.
Yes?
And I accidentally went in the back door.
How did that work out?
Well, they stopped me and very gently told me that I needed to go around front and come in.
And then what did you do?
I said, cool, man. Take me to your greeter.
You flew millions of miles just for that.
Hey, man, I don't ride them. I just read them.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. It continues to be a fairly routine forecast for early part of August. There will be a good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, and some spotty random afternoon or evening storms are possible. In fact, that'll be the scenario right on through Saturday at least. I've got us around 93 for a high temperature today, closer to 94 tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. And guess what? The heat index will be back in the triple-digit range, with lows at night in the lower 70s and somewhat better rain chances perhaps by Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Back to school shopping starts now, and ASC Credit Union has you covered. Our back to school loan helps you pay for supplies, laptops, clothes, and more. Stop by your local ASC branch or apply today at yourasccu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Terms and conditions apply.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
You're listening to Joey Clark.
Okay, I ran across a clip earlier today that was making the rounds on X, and I had to pump the brakes because I just got so creeped out by this individual. And there are a lot of people that had a similar reaction. And it's this constant thing you hear, and sometimes it's put in a tone of voice where you go, oh, that's sweet, I guess. But we need to treat our children as all our children. But this is a very old idea. It goes all the way back to, Plato, who really is, with his philosopher king system, a model for the authoritarian or totalitarian mindset. But you see this often with wanting to create social upheaval, revolution, if you will. You divide the children from their parents. You undermine honoring one's mother and father. And you can do that in all sorts of ways. But one way you could do it is, what if the kids could vote? This is Ross Douthat. Now, he has left the New York Times, and good for Ross Douthat. I like Ross Douthat a lot. Thoughtful, a conservative Catholic man. But this was before he left on his New York Times podcast. And I believe this is a fella from Yale. Like this is an attending from Yale. So it's not like just some crazy nobody. This is like a top professor at an Ivy League school. So before I keep blabbing about it, just listen to this short clip. And you might be creeped out by it. You might be like, how does Ross Douthat keep his cool? Now, the way I've got it up on the stream right now, just looking at Douthat's face, he's already like, yeah, this guy, I think he's creeped out. I think he's also angry. Well, let's listen in.
I've gotten in some hot water for proposing we consider overweighting the votes of younger people or assigning the youngest eligible voters proxy votes for the unrepresented children of our country. So those are edgy.
Why not assign them to those children's parents?
Well, because there's a divergence of interest between parents and children, and I think
is there?
It's likelier that young people, not people who are raising families, will have the best insight into the interests of children. Whereas if you were awarded 5
I think
proxy
that's
votes,
daft. I think it's absurd to imagine that a 24-year-old recent college graduate has a better assessment of the interests of my own children than I do. I say this with all due respect to 24-year-old recent college graduates, of whom I hope to be the parent of in 9 years or so.
I think parents generally confuse the interests of their family with the interests of their children. And part of our goal, I think, as parents, but also as a society, is trying to make sure that children aren't the hostages of their parents, as much as we rely on parents to raise them.
Aren't in my experience.
Now, Douthat keeps his cool, but there are a lot of folks saying, I don't know how. And it is, it's an example of how removed people that have all these credentials and can put it in all these intellectual terms, or really, children are just being held hostage by their parents. And a parent doesn't know what's best for their child. The interest of the parents and the interest of the family the parents are trying to create, well, that really cuts against the interests of the youth. And is it not interesting that you can slice and dice human beings in all sorts of ways? You can put them in all sorts of boxes and categories. You're not a son. You're not a daughter called to honor your parents. Even if your parents have done your own, you still need to honor them. I think we've lost that to a large degree. But you're not a son. You're not a daughter. You're part of the youth. And it's interesting how the category people pick for themselves really does dictate how a lot of policy and a lot of things happen in this world. And so if you think, well, the main unit of society is the isolated individual, what you'll probably swiftly end up with is, actually, I think the unit of society is, okay, that isolated individual has all these different characteristics, right? They have their race, their gender, their sex. They have their sexuality even. And then you can go down the list. Some are old. We need to look out for the old. And some are really young. We got to look out for the interest of the young. And so really the way you order society, the main units of society are these big collective groups that are still isolated individuals, but then they're now part of a political community that can vote. And then have experts like this fella from Yale come in and, well, dictate essentially what their interests are, because that's how this would end up. there's a different way of viewing things, or the unit of society is not the isolated individual and all these many attributes that any person can have. Actually, the main unit of society is the household. It's a father and a mother and their children. And it is the household that has an interest. And of course, that household's part of a neighborhood and part of a local community, municipality, part of a state, part of a nation. And you would hope all part of, say, the larger body of Christ. It's been, again, since ancient times, people that lust for power or think they're smarter than everybody else, and maybe they are smarter than the average bear, but doesn't mean they're better morally. Just means they're more clever. Those more clever folks have been at this for thousands of years. That the family unit's oppressive. That sons and daughters honoring mothers and fathers, well, that's just keeping people back from having the correct revolutionary mindset in order to overthrow the capitalist system or escape the cave and see the true meaning of the world and whatever utopia you want to think of. And what you usually end up with there is tyranny. Now, can you have a tyrant of a father or a mother? Yeah. But that's no reason to just get rid of it. It's kind of like, can you have a really rough, rocky, crappy marriage? Okay, well, what good is the institution anyway? Because things might go wrong, then these institutions aren't great. So let's just build new institutions where everybody's just already given up on all the old stuff. It just seems to be the effect that so many of the liberal elite want to land on. Like, that guy gave me the creeps. That guy gives me the creeps. Just listen to him again.
Youngest eligible voters, proxy votes for the unrepresented children of our country. So those are edgy.
Why not assign them to those children's parents?
Well, because there's a divergence of interest between parents and children. And I think it's
fascinating.
It's likelier that young people, not people who are raising families, will have the best insight into the interests.
And that is astounding. This is the one part that pushes back on. So if you're going to have the system where you're getting more political power from the, say, younger population that can't vote themselves, instead we should just weight the people that are of voting age, weight their votes even more. Again, this is just an egghead, stupid idea in the first place. But he's essentially saying, yeah, that 19-year-old, that 20-year-old, that 24-year-old college graduate knows what's better for your kids than mom or dad do. And for him to say that with a straight face and to kind of put it into this thought experiment, and this will liberate us more, what's really going on here? A doubt that pushes back, think
of children. Whereas if you were awarded 5
I think
proxy
that's
votes,
daft. I think it's absurd to imagine that
daft and absurd. That's a nice way to put it, Ross.
A 24-year-old recent college graduate has a better assessment of the interests of my own children than I do. I say this with all due respect to 24-year-old recent college graduates, of whom I hope to be the parent of in 9 years or so.
I think parents generally confuse the interests of their family with the interests of their children.
And that mentality is much more pervasive than we want to admit. Now, there are a lot of Americans, and you could see it in the comment section, are like, that guy wouldn't have been talking much longer if he had said that to me about my kids. So there are a lot of folks with common sense that would push back on this stuff. and I would hope across so-called party divides. But never underestimate where some of the smart set want to take things, especially in the name of revolution and progress. Progress right to hell. Anyway, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services, and they're at Pest Pro. Ashley and that great team are ready to help you out with any and all of your pest control needs, especially because mosquitoes are just getting downright annoying. You're trying to sit out on a beautiful, brand new balcony porch, looking at the sunset, catching up with an old friend, and all of a sudden gets you right on the arm. And now all you can think of is your itchy bicep or right on the forehead. And now your face, you got a huge welt on your face because you're trying to say something serious. Nobody's taking you seriously with a huge welt on your face. Everybody knows you're uncomfortable. The point is, if you actually want to enjoy your front porch, your back porch, enjoy your property, and you don't want to be eaten up by mosquitoes, get Pest Pro Services out there. They'll get rid of them. It's a great service. And they do it when the season is right. It's not like year-round, but when mosquitoes start to crop up, they can come out and get rid of them. And, of course, you might as well go ahead and get on their monthly subscription model so you have Pest Pro visiting you on a regular basis anyhow for basic pest control needs. And if some unique thing crops up like mosquitoes or fire ants, they can help you out. So check them out today. You can always learn more at ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces or call them at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. And be sure to tell them Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Tired of spending your weekends fighting weeds, patchy grass, and a mower that never starts? Mosley Lawn Pros is the solution. They handle residential and commercial lawn maintenance, landscaping, cleanups, and property care, so you don't have to. They show up on time, do the job right, and leave your lawn looking sharp every time. Stop stressing over your yard and start loving it. When it comes to your lawn, call the crew your neighbors and local businesses trust. One call, one crew, problem solved. Mosley Lawn Pros, built on hard work, driven by quality. Find them today on Facebook or Google.
Hi, this is Jeff Mallinson with Georgia Floors Direct, and I want to talk to you about Blue Water Broadcast and how they've helped my business spread the word. As every small business owner, I have to look at my advertising dollars carefully, and Blue Water Broadcast helps me get the most for every dollar I spend. I'm so glad to be a part of Blue Water Broadcasting and what they bring to Montgomery.
Radio works. It's as simple as that. Call us to find out how radio can work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones. Talk to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Man, we're good. Hey, have you seen that little TikTok we did at the store with me and Greta?
Wait, yes.
The one where I was like, hey, somebody wants to see the manager, and she's like, but you're the owner, and I'm like, yeah, but you're the manager. They asked for the manager.
No, I didn't see. I think what I saw was a photo of a winner. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, the winner. That was cool. But this thing's got 79,000 views.
Wow. Wow, you're getting TikTok famous on us.
I mean, just this one. Everything else has got like 1,500 views because it's local. I'm like, how in the world has 79,000 people seen this thing? I didn't even comb my hair.
It is unreal. Like, you never know what's going to hit. And I guess, I don't know, y'all must have had the right comedic energy going on there.
Something went right on that one. Because it sure did. It blew up. But the teacher winner was actually, she goes to our church.
Okay.
And so the way we do that, just for y'all to know, Emma Russo over it, she everybody puts your name in. She puts it on this little wheel, and it spins, and it just pops out a name. And I said, oh yeah, she goes to church. You know, she sings it there, and her husband sings in the choir. And they're like, do we let her? I said, she won. We can't say no just because we know them. So we do try to do it fair and square when we give these little contests away. And as teachers, if y'all need a rug, I've got a few rugs left back here for your classroom. Like, it could be like a 5x5 or 6x6. Normally, we'll just donate those to teachers while we've got them. So if y'all are a teacher and you need a rug, call me at 285-8117 while they last.
Again, 285-8117 teachers, and anybody else. You want new floors, new carpet, new say ceramic tile, whatever. Like luxury vinyl plank, Prattville Carpet can help you out. Yeah, just call them.
Go look up that TikTok and let's get it up to 80 just for the kick of it.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I'm trying to stay away from the talk, but you're drawing me back in.
Just reel it back in one time.
Okay.
Do it for me.
Well, I appreciate it, Ray.
All right, we'll see y'all. Bye.
Ray Bowles getting TikTok famous there at Prattville Carpet. Again, that number is 285-8117. And when you call them up at 285-8117, be sure to tell them you heard Ray on the radio with Joey Clark. So what did we learn today? Well, I'm tired. Like, somebody had me helping them move last night at the last second and drinking wine, a little bit of wine afterwards. And I'm like, I go to bed early now. I don't have time to do this. Well, it's good seeing an old friend and helping them out. So, one thing we've learned is after these elections last night, does seem part of the Democrats have gone bat crap crazy. And as I meant the point earlier, you can say they're crazy. You might have good reason to say they're crazy. But a lot of the very real issues affecting a lot of, say, non-ideological Americans, just everyday people who are like, gas is too high, groceries are too high, just a lot of problems. Why is the debt so high? Why are we always at war? Like, problems that don't seem to go away no matter who's elected. These are the sort of things that even the so-called crazies, even the socialists and yada, 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 can take advantage of. So, there's a role in politics, obviously, for demonizing the other side. That's just the nature of the beast. Maybe literally the beast. But it would be nice to see, like, some people actually solving these issues. But the craziness might be going far enough that it's changing certain people's minds. Fascinating call. You got to wonder how much this represents the larger voting public. Let's listen in. This was on C-SPAN. A fella called in from Ohio and made this case.
Going to be voting for Houston. I've been a lifelong Democrat, and I'm 72 years old, 72-year-old white male. And I've been a Democrat my whole life. This past primary in Ohio, I went and asked for the Republican ballot, which makes me a Republican now. There's many reasons for that. But if I could just be philosophical for just a minute, and thank you again for taking my call. This chicken, this Democratic Socialist movement, this chicken has been coming home to roost for a long, long time. And you have to go back to the source of what's going on. 35 or 40 years ago, the Democrats and Republicans together decided that they were going to shovel every job that they could shovel offshore that they did. And the ones that weren't bolted down, they shipped first, and then they've unbolted the rest of them and shipped the rest of them. So if you're a young person in this country, we don't make any textiles. We don't make any electronics. We don't make hardly any cars. We don't make hardly any pharmaceuticals. And so you've got a lot of young people who are seeing this wage gap. And by the way, I'm a Republican, and you're seeing this income gap. And so essentially they're fair game for this movement.
He makes a good point. If we're not going to solve the real underlying issues that have been festering for generations now, well, careful. And especially, how Trump destroyed the Republican Party, the old Republican Party in many ways. I think there are a lot of gatekeepers who still think they have the power to stop the socialists. I don't know if y'all do. The internet's kind of happened, and it's gone crazy. Anyway, got to get out of here. Happy hour with Greg and Pamela and Master Thespian, who's a duck today, apparently, and an eagle as well. He's a man of many sounds and voices and personalities, actually. I got to get out of here. They're next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana.